Hey guys, this is Gaijin Hunter, and welcome to episode, bonus points if you can get it, 41 of the Third Fleet podcast. Today we'll be discussing some Monster Hunter, gaming news, and then for the second half we'll be jumping down the rabbit hole to talk about my latest addiction, which I only have Rurikhan here to both thank and blame. Rurikhan, how are you doing, my friend?
I am doing fantastic. Today was actually a pretty fun day. I did 2 live streams on my channel, so that was a fun times. And I when you said second half, I would actually wager it's probably going to be more like 2/3, three-fourths. It's going to be the majority of this podcast will most likely be dominated by Soul Sacrifice Delta, because you see, guys, this was all a part of my master plan. See, I never let go of Soul Sacrifice. See, the only reason I got invested in Monster Hunter was to convince Gaijin to do this podcast with me so that I could then influence him to like Soul Sacrifice Delta, because I am going to be responsible for the Soul Sacrifice Delta remake. See, guys, today Gaijin, tomorrow the world.
The world. I do want to make a plea to you guys. If you're not into the game or you don't know of the game, I hope you guys do stick around for that portion, because this is purely coming from my perspective of a Monster Hunter fanatic, and lots of these types of games don't connect with me, but this one is like Dragon's Dogma level of connection, so hopefully you'll find it interesting. But before we get into that, what is going on in the world besides all the bad stuff?
There are a lot of things going on in the world. So there's some Sony news that I don't remember if this happened before the last podcast or not. We didn't talk about it, but Sony tried pulling a fast one on people and being like, "Hey, you remember that promise we made you about you guys getting the free upgrade path to Horizon Zero Dawn Forbidden West? How about you guys give us $10 for that instead?"
It is as if someone has a blackboard inside Sony headquarters in California that says, "Strategy. Let's try our best to emulate Xbox when they were launching Xbox One. How can we get away with being as anti-consumer as they were?" It's like, seriously, I mean, okay, yeah, they promised that it would be a free upgrade, and then they kind of, conveniently forgot that, which is just like, okay, whatever. I get it, like, if it costs a lot of money and it was more expensive than they thought, whatever. But then they tried pulling a faster one, which is the PS5 version of the game is $10 more than the PS4 version. So you would assume that because of the scarcity of the units, they would at least say, "Hey, we want you to buy the game when it comes out, and you might want to transfer over if you happen to get a PlayStation 5. So you'll pay $10 for the upgrade because that's the difference in cost between the versions." Nope, they say, "Sorry, unless you buy like the $200, $300 version or the extra digital." Then they said, "We have a digital deluxe version which has $10 of digital perks," which is just like, like, I don't know, some in-game skins or something. If you buy that for additional $20, then we'll give you the ability to upgrade. So it's like they try to take a $10 upgrade, take it off the table and say, "Yeah, but we'll give it to you if you buy a version cost $20 more." I'm like, wait, you're bundling in the upgrade option to the digital deluxe pack? I'm like, I'm so happy they didn't get away with it. I'm so happy.
And if at any point during that you guys got confused as to what the version did this to that, that's intentional.
You're not the only one.
That's kind of like, it almost feels like that's a marketing plan.
There's 9 versions of the game.
Oh my god.
9 versions of the game. So, I mean, just to give you guys the easy version, because I'm not going to bother you with giving you the convoluted version. Basically, and this makes sense, not every PlayStation 5 is disc enabled. So if you want to get an upgradable version, it has to be a digital version. That makes total sense. Otherwise, people would just buy it used and upgrade it, or they would borrow it from a friend and upgrade it or something like that. So that's fine. I don't think anybody would complain about that. But then they've got like all these weird editions, but they had like the PS4 edition, the PS5 edition, then they had the digital deluxe PlayStation 5 version, and that's the one that came with both PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5.
And didn't they put like photo mode in one of those versions as well as like a premium feature?
Did they do that? Oh my gosh, that is
I don't remember, but I think there was some really weird. It's like, I don't want to go too far with this because, like, at the end of the day, I think the important thing to mention is, I don't know, have you ever played Horizon Zero Dawn?
I did, yes. I bought it when it came out.
Then
I played it for about 10 hours and I really enjoyed it. And then I think we talked about this, but once it got into human on human violence, I just started getting, also just the world was too big for me, and I really get too overly
Overwhelmed.
distracted with open world, with large games. But I watched the entire rest of the game via playthroughs on YouTube, and I enjoyed it quite a bit.
Yeah, like
So I'm a supporter of the game. I like the game a lot.
because this is the important thing to say, and that is that Horizon Zero Dawn is a fantastic new IP, right?
How dare they wrap this up in controversy of all games?
It's like of all things, at least, why don't you wrap up something that's trash like a FIFA or something? Just wrap up those trash sports games that nobody cares about and make like 50 different versions of them. It's like Horizon Zero Dawn is a fantastic title. I played it beginning to end, loved it. I didn't get around to finishing the DLC, but I really, really, really enjoyed what I've played of the original. And, I'm looking forward, and I'm going to play Forbidden West. Regardless of what happens, I'm going to play Forbidden West. Like, I don't care. Because, those developers have put a lot of passion into that game. I mean, from my experience with the original, I can tell you there was a lot of passion put into that game. That game is phenomenal, period. And like, even if you didn't play the original, like, I still heavily recommend that one because it's just a really, really good game to play, period. And
not to mention, as I mentioned before, it's one of the few occurrences where I really think they pulled off the parent-child motif in the beginning of the game, and they did it really well.
Yeah.
As a parent, it hit some feelings. It's one of my favorite intro parts of a game ever. I really enjoyed it. So.
And for all of you,
don't let that spoil your fun about that game. That is it's a wonderful, wonderful game.
And for all of you Monster Hunter fans out there, I'll let you know that there's also some Monster Hunter inspiration in this game because I actually got to ask the developers directly, and they said, "Yep, we were inspired by Monster Hunter and some of the things that we did." So that game is amazing, and it kind of sucks to see it, surrounded by this controversy nonsense that makes no sense. But earlier, was it last week? Yeah, it was last week. At some point last week, we also got the Sony showcase event where they showed a bunch of trailers and a little bit of gameplay for some of the games that are coming out. And I'm just going to tell you the ones that I'm more interested in, and then I'll tell you what else they've announced. And it's like on the top of my list, God of War Ragnarok. I don't think you played the original God of War, did you? I mean, not the original.
I did.
The 2018 version, I mean.
Yeah, I played it all the way through to the end.
Oh! Yeah. I was not aware of this. Then you're hyped for Ragnarok as well, right?
I enjoy the God of War series a lot.
Oh, okay.
Again, it's violent, but it's like God and God violence. It's not really in monster violence. To me, it is the perfect. Devil May Cry. I enjoyed the last one a lot, but in general, I don't get into those types of games. Probably because I stink. But to me, it strikes this wonderful balance between an arcade action game and a character action game, where it's not quite that intricate with combos. It's very approachable, and it's more about you're just on for the ride. It's like a narrative thing, right? That's where they put the strength, and I love the reboot, so to say. I thought that was great, and I still can't get. I really loved. I know it just sounds like a cool little thing, but for me, seeing them do the one camera throughout the entire game was the coolest thing ever, because it's such an interesting choice, and it really, really did add a lot of flavor to the game. So if you didn't know, guys, like most movies or games have camera cuts, right? Like cut to the perspective of somebody. They did this entire game with one camera cut. They never cut it over. They always moved it, the positioning, everything. It directed them in how to and it just shows you don't have to go crazy with the environment to really create a dramatic experience. And just with some of the fight sequences and how they were able to maintain that is just, it's art. I really enjoyed it. So, and the director, he's great.
And what are your thoughts on Fat Thor for God of War Ragnarok?
You know what? It's interesting seeing the internet debate this one. But the first thing that came to my mind, and the first thing that I saw on the internet were the same thing, which was, have y'all watched The World's Strongest Man? Because I really enjoy those competitions. So like Brad Shaw, Eddie Hall, Thor, like all those guys, like I enjoy watching them. They're huge. And plus we're talking about a Norse god, right? These guys probably, are with the ladies and alcohol and food and feasting all day long on top of having mountain-like strength. So to me, I thought it was great. That, and I always like reinterpretations of gods from mythology, because they can be interpreted any way you want. It's whether or not you nail the personality of the god that really matters. But then again, this might actually be a more accurate portrayal of him than a lot of the other ones that people are used to, if you really read into him.
No, listen. You know what was the first thing that I thought when I saw that body? I was like,
he's an Iron Breaker.
No. I was like, I have the body of a Norse god.
Validation.
Exactly.
Validation.
I have the body of a Norse god, dude. I'm amazing.
Body positivity, baby.
Exactly. But yeah, so God of War Ragnarok, I think looks amazing. I want to play that when that comes out for sure. Forspoken, have you seen anything about Forspoken?
Doesn't ring any bells.
It's like a game. It was first announced as Project Althea, I believe, was what they called it. It's by Square Enix. People thought it was going to be like a Final Fantasy thing, but it's something different.
Is this the Isekai game?
Yes, it's the Isekai looking game. So the thing that I really liked about that one is that it's most likely going to be an open world, at least it looks like it, and they've thought about the traversal, which is something that a lot of open world games don't think about. It's like, oh, just have this huge open world and then make players, walk through this huge open world. Like in there, you see her like jumping, teleporting, doing all kinds of stuff. So that looked cool. Then I'm just gonna quick fire the next.
It's almost like I remember seeing the trailer for that or whatever the gameplay, and it kind of reminded me of like, okay, if you took something like Narnia and you made it like really Japanese anime and for adults, it kind of like what it felt like. Looks cool. I mean, it looks nice.
Exactly.
Visually.
That's the point. And I think that
them particle effects, baby.
The spells look exaggerated, kind of like in a similar way to Dragon's Dogma, how like when you did ice, there's like this big structure pops up. Like it looked cool. I like that part of it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to quick fire the next ones. There's not a whole lot to say. There's Project Eve, which is kind of like different interpretation of Bayonetta meets... Some people are saying Nier. It's like, to me, Nier is... It's something that I don't like to throw around lightly, right? Because Nier is very, very special to me. So I don't know if I would say Bayonetta meets Nier. A lot of people are saying that. I'm like, I think it's like a Korean interpretation of Bayonetta. And I think it looks very interesting.
Oh, you're talking about the one with the girl with the tush everybody's talking about.
Oh, yeah, because like that camera, like they're not fooling anybody. They're like, yep, this is what we're showing you right here. Money shot, money shot, money shot, like everywhere. I was like, yep.
But it was very... I watched Easy Allies, who I'm a huge fan of. Those are like the ex-GameTrailers.com guys and some others, and I really enjoyed them. They're a positive group. I was watching their impressions, and I vibed, I guess you could say, since we're keeping with the young person lingo, since the last episode. But I really connected with what they were saying, which is, one, it's visually super impressive what they're doing. Digital Foundry, I think, even talked about it. Like that, and it's nice to see Korean developers are really coming onto the world stage here, because they do have some really good development chops. Same with Chinese developers as well. I think they're really stepping up their game to the point that it's like, you can't ignore this stuff. This is really good. And it offers a design sensibility that you wouldn't get from a Western developer, right? So I like the idea of like the hyper, it looks realistic, but it still's got that anime type model to it. It's interesting. And the monster designs were pretty unique. So it's a game to look for. I mean, it looks interesting. I'm very curious to see it in motion though, and just how it plays, but it looks really good.
Yeah. So that was Project Eve. Then there's the tease for Wolverine. I don't know if you're a big Wolverine fan, but with the studio that is involved here, which is Insomniac Games, are the guys who did the recent Spider-Man games, and they're also the ones responsible for Infamous. Not sure if you've played Infamous before, but yeah,
but I know those are quality games, so it sounds like it's in good hands.
Yeah, and it looks like it's going to be gritty from the little teaser trailer that they made. So more Logan and less like X-Men, which to me is exactly what I would want out of a Wolverine game. So hopefully that's the direction that they're taking it. Then they announced also Superman 2 is coming out, which is kind of like a no-brainer due to the success that Superman and Miles Morales have had since Sony has
Spider-Man.
Yes, I said Spider-Man 2.
No, you said Superman.
Did I say Superman?
I think you did. I'm like sitting here trying to imagine. I'm like, why are they making a Superman game?
Superman game, yeah. No, it's Spider-Man 2, which is coming out in 2023, which is, it's kind of, I feel like that one was announced maybe a little bit too soon. I mean, it's coming 2 years from now. 2 years, I don't know. It feels like a long time.
Sony's trying to double down. They're like, guys, you need to go get a PS5, even though it's not in the stores right now. It's like, can you at least hold on to this stuff until you have some stock? Which I have to mention here, because a lot of people who listen don't follow me on Twitter, and I don't blame you, because my Twitter is just brain of consciousness. Just like I tweet a lot, but I did get a PlayStation 5 recently. So you could probably like all gasps and like, oh, I thought he was anti-Sony, and I am, but I'm not anti-game. So I knew I was going to get one eventually just for games. Although I do suspect that my Series X is going to be my preferred console when I have the choice. But of course, there's going to be games like God of War, which I don't want to miss out on. And just, for adult tax reasons, it made better sense to pick one up this year if I could find one, and I just happened to. So I picked it up, and we were. We can talk about this a little bit later, but we've been having a lot of fun with Astro's Playroom. That thing is really nice.
It is a really good showcase. Like, a lot of people call it a tech demo, but it is a really good tech demo.
It's a game.
Yeah, it is a game, but I'm saying, like, even as a game, it's a fantastic tech demo just to show you what the DualSense can do.
Yeah, it shows off the system features. It really highlights the and that was their mistake with some of their passings, where they would add in a feature and then not really showcase it. Like the Switch had the same issues, right? Like with the HD Rumble, but it's like it does funny. A really good job of showing off.
It's funny how many people made fun of the HD Rumble when the Switch did it, and now all of a sudden everybody's losing their mind over the DualSense. Like, oh my god, you have no idea what this is like. It's like, exactly.
I do think it's different though. Like
it is. It's more powerful.
There's simulated haptics, and then there's real haptics, right? Yeah. And haptic feedback is something that I have. If you go in my tweets, I talked about well before the PS5 that I thought it would be cool if eventually the game makers would adapt haptic feedback into their controllers, because I started getting hooked on the idea with just stuff like iPhones and stuff like that. Like the idea of feeling taps and pushes when there really isn't one is really cool. But it's a good love letter to. I mean, they do Sony better justice than Sony does themselves. So that I would love to see all new consoles do this, where the first party pays one of their studios to really go in and make a game early on, so that's super polished, that shows off the DNA of the system. I think that would be a great move for every game manufacturer going forward. So, and don't include it like a bundle for $40 extra like Nintendo would do.
They just gave that to pretty much everyone that buys a PS5. You just get Astro's Playroom. Which, a lot of people, I've seen a lot of people actually be super excited about it. I haven't finished it. Like, I played a bit of it, and I thought it was pretty cool. But
we got about 80% of the collectibles. We got 20% left. Yeah. But Yuna wants to play it with me in the room with her because she doesn't know the references. So every time she finds a little cameraman where they're setting up a scene, she's like, what's that from? And I can call most of them. And she gets a kick out of hearing my stories when I was a kid and this game and that. And then I show her the reference, and she goes, oh, wow, they really nailed it, and she wouldn't get it normally. So
because
it was another fun bonding moment.
For those of you that don't know, the little Astro robots, they dress up. So there's like one that's got like a red streak on his face to showcase as if he was Kratos and whatnot. There's all kinds of references to all Sony properties. But going back to the list. So we said Spider-Man 2. Then at the very start, they actually opened by announcing that they're remaking Knights of the Old Republic, which I think is pretty cool because people have been, I mean, not they as in Sony.
That's called classic, yeah.
There was a company called Asper, which if I remember correctly, I think they used to port stuff over to Mac. Like I remember seeing games being ported from PC to Mac, and Asper was the ones doing it. So they're assembling like a team to remake KOTOR. I think it's pretty cool for people that like it. Like I've played KOTOR, I'm probably not going to play it again. But I would like to check it out to see what they do with the remake. Like if it's going to be like a Blue Point type of deal with what they did with Demon Souls and Shadow of the Colossus, like that would be amazing.
I think that's what it sounds like fans want more, right? Because that's a cult classic. So it's like, if you're going to remake something like, I don't know, the Rocky Horror Picture Show or something, like you don't just reinterpret it for the modern age, because that's takes away a lot of the things that made the game memorable for people. So it's got to be arguably the biggest like Star Wars video game ever. Like when it comes to followings from people, like I think people really. But then again, I heard Fallen Order was really good, and I haven't played it.
A lot of people like Fallen Order, but probably not on the same level as KOTOR. I'm just not sure about...
KOTOR is almost like legend.
Not sure about if it's the biggest. It's definitely one that has the most... It has the most people calling out for a remake, I feel like.
Yeah.
But I think SWTOR might, just in terms of like players playing it, might be slightly bigger, which is the Star Wars MMO. But so after that, not after that, but like at some point they also announced, oh, by the way, there's going to be a GTA 5 on PlayStation 5. And I made a joke about how, and then they announced Skyrim. Oh, wait, no, it's the other one.
It's so funny because it's the one GTA I haven't played. No, actually, there's a lot of them I haven't played. The only GTA I ever played was 4. And I didn't even finish the story. I just spent most of my time stealing cars and listening to the radio and watching TV in my house, which was really fun. I got my money's worth just from that alone. I'll say that, and lots of bowling.
Let's just put it like this: if you don't like human-on-human violence, you definitely don't want to play GTA 5.
Yeah, so then it's like when I hear GTA 5, to me it still sounds like a new game, and then I'm looking back, I'm like, wait, that was all the way from PlayStation 3?
Yeah,
oh my gosh.
I finished it on PlayStation 3. That's how old that game is. And so there's that. They're remastering Uncharted 4 and the little self-contained DLC that they had for that. They're putting it on PC as well.
How do you remaster a game that looks that good though?
Yeah, exactly.
Uncharted games look unreal.
Yeah, that was the thing that I said in my video, because I made a video summarizing all this stuff, and I'm just like, I'm not sure what they're going to do to remaster this game. Game looks friggin' fantastic. I don't know what to tell you.
But I mean, could probably add ray tracing and no one would notice. It's like, that game looks... I haven't played the Uncharted. It's like the one big thing that I've never played, because I just...
Uncharted 4 is really good. I mean...
But the games look gorgeous.
Yeah. I've played 2, and I've played 4. I don't think I played 3. But the ones that I've played, I loved. It was amazing. And the good news though is that it's coming to PC. So I'm pretty happy about people from PC finally get to experience Uncharted 4. The showcase
Game Store, I'm sure.
Gran Turismo 7, which
hang on.
Cool
when you mentioned
game.
PC, I got to say this. So it's because I think it's still going on when this podcast comes out. But the Epic Game Store, whether you have an allergy to it or not, because I'm not a fan of Epic myself.
Oh, right, Neo.
They right now are giving away Neo 1. If you just download the launcher, make an account with your Facebook or Google or whatever, it's painless. You could just hit the get button for Neo 1, and you got it for free. It's like the PlayStation Plus thing. And you don't have to download it. You don't have to redeem it now. Just get it it's like a week or two that they're doing it. But like Neo 1 is a game that, I'm sorry, if you have someone saying all you have to do is download an installer and you can get this amazing game for free, you all should be doing it just to try it out, because it's a very good and interesting game. And it's got to be arguably one of the biggest giveaways they've ever done.
I'd rather pay 40 euros on Steam. Just to have it. There's so many people that are like, I'd rather pay $60, play it on Steam.
Well then do it. It's a good game.
Exactly.
Pay the $60.
But if you don't care, seriously, it is free on Epic, and you guys know that I recommend Neo. Gaijin recommends Neo. Both of us love Neo. Neo's amazing.
Yeah, I mean you can't beat free, right? I mean, come on.
Pretty much. But like I was saying, Gran Turismo 7. That's a really good-looking car game. I don't really play a whole lot of car games. I do like Gran Turismo, but I would like it better if I was like, dude, I should buy a steering wheel. There's like, no, I already bought a joystick for Elite Dangerous, and I love it, but I'm not buying another accessory for one game. It's not a smart decision.
You know what's actually weird is I'm not a racing game guy, so to say, but I gotta say it's probably, out of all the racing games, one of the least exciting when it comes to terms of like what I think the haptic feedback on the DualSense could do, because it's so realistic. It's like a flight simulator, right? It's like
Yeah.
you're on nice smooth race roads. It's like I want a crazy, like dirt
You want
game
Forza
or
Horizon.
Forza Horizon,
That's
or
what you
give me
want.
give me a Twisted Metal game with racing and fighting and something with lots of rumble and different types of feedback on the controller. That would be fun. So that I feel is a little makes me a little sad thinking that they could have had some pretty interesting things with the controller. But hey, it looks pretty. I mean, at that point, I call this. It's gonna sound obscene, but I call that to me is a special genre of game called masturbation.
It is.
It's basic. It's basically a developer who's allowed to just go absolutely insane on what they love, just regardless of sales, and they're making the best possible racing simulator game they can. So it's fueled by love, passion, and ego, and more power to them. But I'm sure when it comes, it'll look great.
Yeah. Then we have Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, which is Borderlands with Dungeons and Dragons. I've kind of had my fill of Borderlands after Borderlands 2, so, but if people are into it, sure. There's Alan Wake getting remastered and released on PlayStation, so we're getting like a game that used to be an Xbox PC exclusive. And there's
I
the
played that game when it came out, and I never understood why it was so.
Yeah, people love that game. I don't know what the deal is.
I don't know why. I played the whole thing, and I was like, it was okay.
It's made by the same team that did Max Payne, so I don't know if that's why. Because Max Payne was pretty fun, but I don't know about this Alan Wake thing. But yeah, if people like it, whatever. Then they showed that Guardians of the Galaxy game, which is I think looks pretty lame.
I don't know. That's the problem with the PlayStation showcases usually for me is, and this is not necessarily my distaste for Sony coming through, but they're often genres that I don't play. And it kind of reminds me of like the old Xbox showcases way back in the day. It's the reason why I didn't get the 360 when it came out. And I was not an Xbox player. It's like
dude bro shooters.
Yeah, it's dude bro games. And I'm like, I just don't. Okay, good for you guys. Like, and then when they announced like Lost Odyssey and Blue Dragon, that's when I got the 360. I was like, okay, that now you're talking to me. And then there were some really good games. And now it's like most of Sony's stuff is just so violent. I'm just like, eh. I mean, Microsoft has that stuff too, but I think where Sony could have done better is curating I mean, they showed lots of trailers like Bam Bam Bam. That works, I think, when you're Nintendo, and there's a general overlying theme that's pretty much laced in all the games, like it's family friendly. But for someone like Sony, I kind of feel like they needed something in the middle to tell the story about where they're going with the system, because it just seems like, let's just throw up every trailer we can possibly get from anybody and that'll be it. It's like you did no curation of any of it. I don't know where your vision is, because they kept talking about, we're not going to do cross-platform. We're not going to do this. We're focusing only on unique experiences. We're doubling down on VR. And it reminds me of what they did to the Vita. It's like, yeah, okay. It sounds like you guys changed your strategy midway through, which is fine. But you want to maybe communicate that to people. You maybe want to talk about manufacturing and when people might be able to get their hands on some units. You want to talk about, I don't know, anything.
They don't know, because things are going so bad that I don't think even they know. I mean, everybody's kind of scrambling. Like you can't even get GPUs. It's insanity. It's complete insanity. Like I'm actually considering buying just like a really crappy. I mean, it's not crappy, but it's not as good as I'd like to get. Just because you can't even get like a good computer right now. And the reason I'm saying buy a computer is because you can't even buy the GPU separately. You need to buy a pre-built computer if you want to have a good GPU, because there's so few of them that they're gonna push all of this other hardware that you don't want. And you're just like, I don't know what to do. It's so bad.
I mean, I know like resellers, and then there's shortages and the pandemic, but is it also like cryptocurrency also playing a role in this, or no?
Oh, big role, right? Dude. Of course. Like cryptocurrency is probably getting their GPUs by the pallet load. I mean, because you have to think about it like this. Say you're a GPU manufacturer and you have the chance, instead of like spreading your GPUs all over these different distributors, like, how about I just, I do one shipment of like let's say
one guy in a
60 or
farm
70,
in Texas, you know.
One guy somewhere just like gets like this big load of GPUs and I get all my money. It's so much easier than sending it to all of these different places. Like, look at all the money I'm saving. You know, it's probably the crypto people might even just like pay extra. They'll be like, yeah, just give me like a 20% markup. I don't care. I'm going to make all that money back anyway. And I'm going to burn these GPUs into the dirt.
Yep, we're going
literally enslaving these GPUs and nobody else can get them.
Waste of energy. I mean, really.
Yeah, it's
it's almost as bad as digital art crap that they have, the NFTs or whatever.
The NFTs.
It's just so stupid. I mean, if people are able to get money away from rich idiots, and fine, but don't do things that are bad for the environment at the same time. Come on.
And you know, another thing that I've been doing this week, pretty much since actually before the release even, is I've been playing the crap out of Tales of Arise. Tales of Arise.
Yes, tell me about that, because I saw a tweet that you were playing it, and then I saw a tweet that other people I know playing it, and I haven't seen any of it, but it sounds like you are enjoying it.
Dude, I am loving it. Now, I already like Tales. I don't get to finish a lot of them because it's JRPG, and, you know, JRPGs are long. But Arise, for some reason, the combat clicked with me so hard. It's got like this combo system that you can do, right? All the Tales games are about combos. But this one has a finisher that you do if you reach, like, there's a little blue thing on the mobs that starts filling up as you start hitting them, and if you get it all the way, you get to do a finishing move with a character, and that just feels so good because then you eventually get skills that once you kill an enemy, you can instantly jump to the next enemy. So it kind of like streamlines the whole thing where like, bam, 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 combo done, finish, jump to the next one, start another combo, finish, jump to the and it just feels good. I don't know. There's something about that is really resonating with me.
Is it a turn-based action RPG or is it real time?
It's real time. You just the thing is, you run into enemies out in the field, but then they take you into like an instance arena where you fight them, and then you just jump in there, and it almost feels like a fighting game because you're trying to string together these combos. And the cool thing is, like, so you have your arts that you can do, and then you have your basic attacks because you have a limit of how many arts you can do. So what you do is you use your basic attacks to kind of like try to extend the combo, and then you get boost attacks, so you can call in other characters to help you out to extend the combo a little bit more, and you keep extending and extending as much as you can. And the cool thing about calling those characters is that, say for instance, you got like a party of 4 characters, but there's more than 4 people in your party. You know, usually in most games, you pick your 4 characters and the other are just like, whatever, they're useless.
Yeah.
You can call in the ones that are on the sidelines to come in and do an attack. And that just feels good. You know, it feels good to be able to call those in. And
gives them their time in the field, right? Instead of on the bench the whole time.
Exactly. And the cool thing is that you have like mechanics. So some of these boost attacks will be good for interrupting spells. Others will be good for like breaking enemies that have heavy armor, stuff like that. And when you bring all of that together and you start comboing and, you know, putting down all of the special attacks and all of this, it just feels good to do the combat. And the story itself is also pretty good too. And there's a character that I'm about to send you a picture of that might just be one of the best female characters in video games ever. Okay? You see that? That right there is Kasara. You see that big shield she's got in her hand? Like, her weapon is not the mace.
She certainly belongs to the Sanctuary faction.
Okay, yeah, sure. Sure thing. She belongs to the Sanctuary faction, but listen, she's got a shield that's as big as her. A huge shield.
That's a meaty shield.
Yeah, and she just like slaps people around with a shield, and I'm just like, I love this character. It's like, to me, she's the main character. It's not Alphen's the dude with the fire sword. I'm like, you're not the main character. Kisara's the main character. Like, I'm whatever. But yeah, Tales of Arise is really cool. I'm just sad.
I had to look at it. I haven't seen anything, but it seems like it's hitting. I've never played a Tales game, so I don't know. Yeah. Maybe it's for me.
I think it's really fun. I think you'd enjoy it because specifically of the combos. The combat is very satisfying, but the story is also really good. So there's that too. The one thing that bothers me about this game, and you know, for me, it's not even something that affects me directly because Bandai Namco sent me like the ultimate version, so I have like all the DLCs and stuff. But you know, I was looking through the DLCs, and The one thing that bothers me about it is that the game has stuff like, oh, here's this item that gives you 20% more experience forever. Here's this item that gives you 20% more SP gain, which is like your skill points forever. Here's this item that gives you like a 50% discount in stores forever. And I'm just like, come on, dude. I'm not using them. Like, I'm playing through the game on the hardest difficulty and not using any of that stuff. But I could if I wanted to. It's just, it bothers me, like that type of stuff. And here's the thing. Here's a game that is fantastic. Does not need that. It doesn't need that to get people to buy it. And they have a bunch of like cosmetics and stuff that come with the ultimate version. I think the cosmetics look great. There's a lot of them. There are fan service as well, obviously. But, I think it's fine. I think all of that stuff is fine. It's just the stuff that messes with the balance of the game annoys me. Like, and the first thing that I noticed was in my first save, which I deleted because I was claiming everything in my first save, and then I look and I'm like, wait, there's a sword here. So the first sword you get in the game deals like 30 damage. They just give you a sword that deals 130 damage. I'm like, wait, what? It's like, what do you mean?
This is interesting because I was having a conversation with a friend the other day about RPGs, like JRPGs, and the idea of, I think my friend had proposed, they said, well, what if they were added like a thing where, like, for people in a hurry who just want to play through the game, either an easy mode or a DLC item that just like makes things cheaper, makes you stronger, more experience, and just makes it more.
There is an easy mode.
Faster. I was like, well, why don't you just, if you know that there's a problem with bloating experience and money, why don't you just design your game so it doesn't have that?
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't see the point of bloating gameplay these days. It worked when we were kids because there wasn't that many games coming out, so having a nice bloaty game to play felt fine. Not these days, man.
And it's like, I don't think the game needs that. I think the game works fine without those things. But, the fact that they're there is annoying, especially for someone like me, because, like, I'm playing on the hardest difficulty, and sometimes I'm like, hey, maybe I should get that one thing, and it's like, this whole thing would be easier. I don't know. Either way, I'm still enjoying the crap out of it, and I've even spent a bunch of time just like fishing. This game has like a fishing mini game. I was like, I'm gonna collect all of these fish.
Nice.
It's nice. It's cool. So yeah, I spent a lot of
fishing
it.
Game.
Yeah, and I think the game is amazing if you like these types of games, but it does have that.
So for the Tales games, do you need to have prior knowledge, or is it like Final Fantasy where they're all their own standalone thing?
There's a couple of them that are linked. Some people have said, like, you have Zillia, which has Zillia 1 and Zillia 2, so those are connected. And I believe that Zestiria is connected with Berseria as well, but most of the other ones is like their own thing. There's also something about Symphonia. Is there Symphonia, and there's another one that's like an alternate universe version of Symphonia or something like that. But yeah, it's mostly it's like you pick up a Tales game, you can play it, it's whatever. But yeah, this was a pretty fun one. But let's talk a little bit about Monster Hunter. Have you played Monster Hunter at all?
I have, yeah. We were playing last night, actually. We were doing some more All Mothers and just joking around and having a really good time. We're like, it's been a long time since we've cut off Ibushi's tail in round 1. Let's go do that. And let's choose a weapon that we don't usually play. And, and just having fun. And we did the Teostra quest a few more times and stuff like that. We had a good time. I mean, right now we're just kind of like going back to it about, I'd say, 2 times a week, just to get our fix. And we're just waiting for some Super Ibushi, Super Nawa, Super All-Mother quest to come. Fingers crossed.
I went in there today as well because I wanted to get caught up on events and stuff because I haven't done some of the events. Specifically, there was the Rachna Kadaki event that they did and the Teostra. So I jumped in there and I actually made a new set, which is not particularly new. I just wanted to make a more comfortable long shelling set. So it's super basic with Basil and Almudron's chest so that I get like that razor sharp on there. And then it's just like the usual, except I really went out of my way. I didn't get weakness exploit or any of the melee stuff. I was like, no. Comfort. I just want comfort. So it's like guard 5, stun resist 3. Like, I don't care about nothing. I just want comfort. So I went in there, beat the crap out of Teostra, no problem. And I basically did all of the more challenging ones. So beat Teostra, Rachna, went back and did the Rajang quest. And I actually started using wide shelling because Rajang is too fast for full burst. So for him and for the Mizu and Apex Zinogre, I went wide shelling. And I've newfound enjoyment of wide shelling. Let's just say like that. Because you can go really fast and go like poke shell, guard, poke shell, guard. It's really good. And then basically during the Apex and Ogre one, I got to humiliate Mizutsune with with the corn popper. The mighty, it's so disgusting. It's like the mighty corn popper has extra aquatic damage, so that transfers over to shells. And you go over to poor Mizu, and it's like you could just see Mizu going like flap. You'd get up, flop, get up, flop. It's like flopping all over the place. It was hilarious. So yeah, that was
one thing that
fun.
What really caught my eye in the last few weeks is that where there was this period that even I would go and approach the game and play it, and there's no denying that it's just a fun game. Yeah. And then there's the tendency to look at it and say, there's so much they could have did more. Yep. And it's kind of like, but the thing is like my shift in my brain has really changed over the last few weeks, where it's like it is by far mechanically my favorite Monster Hunter. Like, I really enjoy the mechanical fight of it. And now all I'm thinking of is, wow, they really nailed the base mechanics of the game. The expansion for this thing has so much potential, it's ridiculous. Because now they know exactly what they need to do. And if they do it, oh man, are we in for a treat. So I'm actually feeling pretty good about the future of Rise. About
Rise Ultimate?
Yeah, which again is all still an assumption on all of our behalves, but I think a very educated one based on the history. But the base mechanics are nailed so well, and there's so much feedback now. We're set up for success. I think the next game is going to nail it. I really do. So I'm actually feeling it's refreshing to go back to the game over and over again and be like, this is just so fun.
It is.
Movement, combat, everything feels so good. It's too easy, sure. It's lacking some things, sure. But you know what? The base game and just as an action game, it's fantastic. So I'm feeling much more optimistic and happy about things than maybe some other people. But then again, people in the West are not necessarily used to buying a base game first and then seeing them really expand upon it. That, and also I think World nailed so many things on the base version on its first time through, that Iceborne was more or less an extension of it than a reinvention of it. So
one thing that bothers me a little bit with some of the Discord that I've seen is some discourse that I've seen is some people bringing up the fact that like World has more viewership on Twitch than Rise. And I'm just like, well,
of course it does. It's a console game.
No, but it's not even because it's a console game. To me, it's like, yeah, I can instantly look at those two games, the experience I have with both of them, and just go like, yeah, World is a better game for streaming. It's just a better game. I mean, it's a better game for streaming, so therefore it's going to have a bigger audience. And on top of it, it's on PC and it's got mods.
Yeah.
Boom.
And it's not even the fact that it's got G rank and all the content. It is just flat out designed for sitting down and playing with other people for a long period of time and having fun. Like they very obviously had that in mind. So I don't suspect that I'll ever change. But if anything, that's not a diss on Rise. It just shows how much they nailed Iceborne.
World and Iceborne.
Or World, yeah.
One of the things that was fun today was like you were saying, it's such a fun game to play because I think a lot of people that were in my stream today hadn't really seen me play the Gunlance that much, at least to the level that, because you see me at the start of a Monster Hunter, then you see me after like 500 hours, and it's very, very different, right? And so people are like, oh my God, let's just flying all over the place doing all the, like, yep, Gunlance is good. It's the most fun weapon in the game. It's just too bad. Damage sucks, which by the way, either I'm very mistaken or they might have nerfed Wyvern Fire. Because like I remember getting like 140s to 160s on each Wyvern Fire tick, and now on all of these harder monsters, 120, 130.
Wait, doesn't Wide though have a weaker version of Wine Fire? Isn't that
it's I played Long.
Long
first.
has long. I was gonna say Long has
what
more
Long
powerful,
has
right?
what Long has is where normal and Wide will do 3 ticks of damage. Long will do 4, but it's the same damage.
It's the same damage.
Yes, I mean, it's not. It's Long is going to do more because it's got 1 extra tick of damage. But I'm saying like the number is the same. But either way, I used Long. I used Long on the first time through with most of them, and I was like, dude, it feels like either they nerfed it or they modified the harder monsters have modified defense or something, or just take less damage. But I was like, dude, I don't understand.
Huh.
Why would you nerf Wyvern Fire of all things? Oh man, this gunland's so the Wyvern Fire, that's the problem right there. It's too much damage on the Wyvern Fire.
Can't have that.
No.
So you're gonna have to write this down for me because I'm taking a quick look at this. So we're talking Long, what level 5?
Yeah, all of my gunlands are level 5.
Okay, so I'm looking at the Iceborne official guide right now.
The Iceborne official guide?
The Wyvern Blast. Where is it?
They call it Wyvern Blast over there.
Or Wyvern Fire, whatever it's called. It's 89 motion. It says it's 89 motion.
But it's like I'm not even talking from Iceborne to Rise. I mean from Rise to Rise.
Oh, Rise to Rise, huh?
I think they might have nerfed it in a patch at some point or something, or either that or just like the defense that the monsters have. They're just doing something. Either way, it's like, hey, that true damage thing. Yeah, we don't do that anymore. True damage was too powerful, but yeah, I don't know what's going on with that. But anyway, I think it's time we get into the meat of the show because I know you can't.
I know I'm itching over here. I'm antsy in my pants.
You can't wait to talk about this. Okay, so we got you hooked on Soul Sacrifice, and you've been having such a good time. You beat me. You beat me. Like I would not think that this was possible, but it was because of the way that I was playing the game. But you beat me. You've defeated the final boss, and I still haven't defeated the final boss.
Oh, and I've gotten so much farther since then.
Oh yeah, I can't even imagine. Because you see, the thing is, like, when I got into Soul Sacrifice, I did not have that Monster Hunter drive that I have nowadays of like, knowing when to grind, what to do. Like, I went into to Soul Sacrifice, and I was still thinking about games in terms of like levels. So like I would see the quests and I'm like, okay, I want to do all the quests. Let's go. Which is kind of like the way that I initially played Monster Hunter as well. It's like, oh, let's do all the quests and hopefully we'll get the materials that we need, which is obviously not the way you're supposed to play those games.
Well,
but
there's something I want to ask you. When you first played it, did you play the vanilla sacrifice or did you play Delta?
I've played both. I've played vanilla. I didn't finish vanilla. And then when Soul Sacrifice came out,
a lot of research. And there is the amount of changes they made to the core game from vanilla to Delta is
it's pretty
insane.
crazy. Yeah.
It's like I would flat out, and they even say this on their official website in Japanese, it's a full out remake. It's like they literally went back and went through and took most fan feedback and remade the first game, reshuffled stuff, and they added in a whole like G rank almost ultimate release content on top of it.
Yeah.
So it's like, because I'm kind of curious now, it's like people are like, oh, I played a little bit of Soul Sacrifice. It was fun, but it didn't stick. I'm thinking, yeah, but did you play Delta? Because there's so many changes.
Listen,
I can see. I haven't played it, but on paper, it's they list out over 100 changes on the Japanese. I can't even find an English website for the freaking game.
Yeah,
it shows how much Sony cares about it. But the Japanese one lists out over 100 major changes that they've made.
And let me tell you right now, okay? So first thing, in terms of like when you're talking about the gaming community as a whole, you have a very small subsection of people that bought the Vita. I don't know what the percentage is. I would wager it's about in the 5% of, like, if we're talking like anyone that plays console video. I'm not even talking about mobile games, just like people that play console video games and portables and all this stuff. I would say that maybe 5% of those people bought a Vita. Okay? And then out of those 5%, I would say that maybe 10% of them bought the original Soul Sacrifice, okay? And then out of those 10%, I would say that maybe 2% of them have any idea what Soul Sacrifice Delta is.
There's people who are told me, oh, I played the original. I don't even know what this Delta is. What is that? I'm like, what?
Yeah, exactly.
God.
That's the level, okay? And listen, I was there. I was like, from the beginning, I was like, dude, I love this game. This game is amazing. This game's real good. And then Soul Sacrifice Delta comes out, and I'm just like badgering Sony, like, give me a code, Soul Sacrifice Delta. Give me Soul Sacrifice Delta. There's not even a physical release. You were talking the other day, did they market this appropriately in the West? And I'm like, I don't even think there was any marketing whatsoever.
There's not even a website. And this thing is,
there was anything.
Like looking into it, it's like Inafune went back to Sony and said, dude, I've got an idea for a sequel. And plus he had tons of feedback on things that they could have did better in the first game. And he's like, I want to make all this, right? And he convinced them to let him do it. But the way they did it was they released it as Soul Sacrifice Delta, which was a complete reshuffling and rebalancing of the original game. And then on top of that, it was a whole expansion as well.
Yep.
And it's like, they spent all this time and effort, and it's like in the West, they just said, it's a lost cause. We're just going to put it in the store. We're not going to tell anybody about it. And it's just like, are you guys smoking cocaine? Like, what is wrong with you?
Yep.
It's
one of those things because of the fact that the Vita never really took off, and that was a Vita game. And the interesting thing about the Vita is that every single time that I would talk to like an independent developer or any developer for that, because back in the day I used to like go to Gamescom. Nowadays we can't do that stuff anymore because COVID. But I would go to Gamescom I got to go to E3 like twice. Every single time I would talk to a developer that was working on the Vita, they would all say they loved developing for the Vita. They thought it was a fantastic platform. It was easy to develop to. And, there was a lot of stuff on there. I think their main complaint was the RAM. They said the Vita does not have that much RAM. But other than that, they loved developing on the Vita. And, for some reason, it just never really took off. And Sony didn't really push it that much, and it just sunsetted the console. And with that sunset, we've basically lost. Like, to me, as far as I'm concerned, this franchise is dead. And it sucks. It sucks so much.
It's like in the delivery room, they took the baby out and threw it off the back window.
Yeah.
They didn't even give it a chance to be in front of people.
Yeah,
this has to be the worst crime in the gaming industry that I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's one of those things where people not even it's like, what do you do? Because this is a Vita exclusive. The only thing that you can do to do justice to the game is take it out of the Vita. Put it on PlayStation 5, put it on PlayStation 4, put it in people's hands. Because like, if people would actually play this game, if they would just
they don't even know it exists.
Exactly, they don't know it exists. How can it be?
And what's funny is people are like, hearing you talk so heavily about this game makes me want to play it, but I don't have a Vita. I'm like, you can go buy a Vita. If I knew that I was gonna love this game as much as I love it, I would just go out and buy a Vita.
And it's like,
I'm still debating whether to go out and buy an OLED, but I'm trying to convince myself not to.
No. Don't do that.
Because as I'm far enough that it's fine, but it's like, this is a system seller. This is good.
It was most definitely. We can't say it is. It was, because that system is dead. Okay, they tried shutting down the store not even that long ago. Okay, so it's like that system is dead. Like it feels bad,
the other day I went on a shopping spree. So I hear you talking about the game, and I knew it was coming out in Japan. I've heard about it a little bit, but it was just one of those times where I think God Eater had just come out, and I was getting ready for the next Monster Hunter game, and I was like, okay, there's a lot of people who are doing hunting formula stuff, like whatever. Oh, this is spell based, it's not weapon based. Yeah, not for me. If you told me that the spells were basically weapons, like there's lances and swords and stuff like that, then it would have been a different story. Plus, also the Vita it was a hard sell here in Japan, even initially.
And it's like you need to understand something, because like we're talking about buying a Vita. You remember when you had that thing where you were saying that like, oh, the PlayStation TVs were like whatever $5, right? You said that they were like dirt cheap over there. When they became dirt cheap in Europe, I made the case for this game again. I was like, listen, guys, if you guys want to get into this game, you can buy one of these. It wasn't as cheap as it is over there. It was still like 50 euros or something. But the PlayStation TVs were 50 euros. And I was telling people, listen, it is worth it to get this PlayStation TV thing just to play this game. And
well, even at least they named it properly in the what?
And there's more games.
TV. What the hell does that mean? It sounds like a peripheral device.
Yeah,
but in Japan they call it the Vita TV because it's just a Vita without the screen and buttons.
Yeah.
And an HDMI out. And so people don't realize you don't need to have a Vita to own this thing. It is a Vita. You just buy it and you can play on your TV.
It's like the Wii U marketing. Remember how some people thought it was a peripheral for the Wii?
But, man.
It's like, you need to understand, I don't even think that Sony initially planned on releasing the PlayStation TV in the West, because the first time I heard about that device, I was like super pumped because obviously, you know, I'm trying to record out of this Vita over here. And I was like, dude, there's a thing that can output HDMI. I can record out of that. And it's like, when they initially did the marketing for it, it was called the PlayStation Vita TV. And then they eventually just called it the PlayStation TV. It's so weird. The names
makes no sense.
It makes no sense. Yeah. But it's like, even you know, if you were buying it for 50 euros, this is what I told people. If you're buying it for 50 euros, it's worth it for Soul Sacrifice Delta alone. But you can also get Persona 4 Golden, which is amazing. You can also get like this Gaia games on there. You can get Freedom Wars. You can get Tokiden, which Tokiden initially started as a Vita game. And only then it released on PlayStation 3. It was Tokiden Kiwami or whatever. But, you know, Tokiden was another hunting game that you could get. It was like there was all
the
these
God Eater
games.
Series.
God Eater actually didn't come out on the West on the Vita for the longest time. And when it came out...
Really?
Yeah. When it came out, it came out for the PlayStation, I think it was 3 and the Vita at the same time. It was really weird. Like, God Eater was the weirdest thing in the West because, like, came out for the PSP... But then they never put it on the Vita. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, people want to buy this game. People want to play it.
Then you find out in Japan there was a renaissance of God Eater going on over here in the Vita.
Yeah, it's so frustrating the way that they handled it. There were so many games that I would see in Japan and they would not make it over to the West. Like, I'm surprised Soul Sacrifice made it over to the West. It was crazy. And by the way, guys,
so, I mean,
we're talking about this game, and I just realized that a lot of people are like, they're talking about this game. What is this game like? Okay.
Yeah, we need to discuss
actually describe
what
it. So listen, guys. Think for the easiest description is, I always like to say, it's Monster Hunter with spells. That's not all there is to it, but let's put it like this: there's an arena, very much like you have maps in Monster Hunter. The maps are more simplified here. They're like smaller maps. And there will be a boss there. The boss is going to have techniques. It's going to have weak points. It's going to have all of these things. And you do a loadout, just like you do in Monster Hunter. Your loadout can have 6 spells. And these spells, they can be weapons. So like you can summon a sword and you can swing the sword. And you can do a special attack with the sword. The thing is, each spell has a limited number of uses. And you have to kill like some of the smaller enemies on the map because there's the boss and there might be also smaller enemies. And there are some things that help you like renew your spells. But basically you need to reload your spells from time to time. And that requires sacrifice. You sacrifice or save, depending on which faction you choose, the enemy monsters that you've killed. And that replenishes your stuff and keeps you going. But basically the whole thing is like you're building a deck with these spells. And you also have like passive effects that you put on your arm. And then you go in there and you attack and you fight these monsters very much similar to how you would fight a monster in Monster Hunter. Well, except in here it's a little bit more arcadey. It's not as about hunting. It's about, no, here's the boss, kill the boss. It's an arena.
The button
type
is
thing.
I would say the battle is very fulfilling, but less
Yes.
deliberate than Monster Hunter, and more like you said, like an arcadey kind of like not a beat 'em up because it's still very much like Monster Hunter. It's just it's faster paced and is a little bit not as deep as Monster Hunter, and that's only because of once I have some notes here, but once we get into the sheer variation of spells that you have in this game and things that you can do, it's crazy. And when you say 6 spells, we're talking everything from if you want a healing spell, you can have that. You want a healing spell that heals you over time, you can have that. You want a healing spell that heals you and your whole party, you can have that.
But you can't have all 3 of them. You can only have 2.
Yeah, two of one type. So you want spears, you can bring up to 2. You want fists, you want hammers, all sorts. You want summons where you can summon a golem that'll pound in a monster. Go for it. So like it's huge amount of depth and different weapons. So you can play it like it's a magic spell game, or you can play it like it's a melee weapon game. It all depends. And the neat thing is that at least with Delta, which was the sort of remake / expansion, they fixed this up a bit where I think the original game was more pushing you towards sacrificing stuff. And if you wanted to, you could save stuff, but it wasn't quite the same. Now they have a thing, so like when you kill a little minion on the screen, which is just like a little, I don't know, like a Jaggy or something, right? Like a goblin or something. Yeah. There's a corpse that's left over, like some rats or something. And then when you go over it, you can hold L to save it. You can hold R to sacrifice it, or you can hold L and R at the same time to just let fate decide what happens to them. And there are things called, I don't like the word faction only for the fact that it sounds too complicated of a game when you say it's a faction. Like it's not deep. You've got 3 basic groups that you can join, one of 3, and there's 3 different effects, right? So depending on which one you are, there's 3. Like, let's just take I don't know. I don't want to grab one as an example, but let's say like you were saying, the most important one arguably is recharging your spell usages. So you can either do that just from leveling them up and getting them stronger with more uses, or you can just, let's say go around and sacrifice everything. But if you save them instead...
It's not really just sacrificing, though, because don't you recover your offerings by saving?
Yeah, exactly. So honestly, there's 3 different things that can happen, right? Yeah. So the idea is one effect is that you recharge your spells, and that's all of them, not just the one you used. The other effect is that you get some healing, which is great. And the other one is that it speeds you up. It gives you a speed boost, so you can dash and run and do stuff like that. And depending on which of the 3 groups that you belong to, your factions, sacrificing will do this for this group, but for this group it won't. Like, it'll do different stuff.
Yeah.
And you're in teams of 3 instead of 4. That's another small difference from Monster Hunter. And the cool thing is with single player, which is there's a whole multiplayer thing, but obviously with Vita being dead right now, that's not really something you want to be thinking about. The game has a really, really good NPC system where you have 2 NPCs with you.
It is important to mention, though, if you have friends, even if the online multiplayer completely dies, you can still play local with your friends. Yeah. So that still works.
It still works. And you can actually still go online and play the game until somebody brings down the servers. And there's actually in Japan or in the West, I don't know, maybe they're Western just because it was region free. There's still a good, I think, 20 people playing right now. Because I actually matchmade. I got into a room. I got into a room, and it was a sanctuary room I got into.
So I need to ask.
But everyone, I'll say it now. Yeah, you know who it is.
No, I don't. Which faction is dominating? That's why I'm asking.
Grim.
Of course.
Of course. So if you guys know, Avalon is the group that believes. So I guess the thing if I could talk about this is, so I think you did a really good job of talking about the combat, and it's a portable game. So like these hunts, as I call them hunts, because they basically are, because like when you get your hunt list, you get like the level 1 star quest, level 2 star quest, 3 star quest, stuff like that. There is an abundance of large monsters. There's 61 I counted in the game. When you kill a boss, each boss has 2 items that are unique to them. So basically you're getting a unique, either it's a spell, like it's an auxiliary spell or a support one, and you're also getting like a weapon. and they're all very thematically themed to that monster specifically. So instead of hunting for armor, you're hunting for their spells. So you get their spells, and then you can level them up, and they change rarity and get even crazier and stuff like that, and you can mix and match some spells. But you're going in there, you could see what spells you can get. So you can just like say, okay, I'm going after this guy because I want, this super fireball thing. And you go after like the fireball boss guy, right? And you kill him, and then he drops it. And there's a rating system, sort of Devil May Cry. But then you get your rewards and all that good stuff. So, like the theme, I'd say a quest generally lasts about, unless you're overpowered in your farming, I would say like your first time going through a quest, they're about 5 to 10 minutes long. It feels just like a good portable Monster Hunter game, I think.
Yeah.
Some fights might go a little over 10. I think like if it's you're kind of, there's no, like there is a player level, but it's a little different. But it's about 10-minute quest, so it's very bite sized. It's very enjoyable. It's not too long.
Yeah, it was designed for portability.
Yeah. So the thing that really makes this game shine, though, is that it's got story, like really, really good story, and the way that it's implemented is fantastic for this type of game, because they basically came up with a story conceit that means that you don't have to worry about a hub town. You don't got to worry about running around talking to villagers. It's just you in a room with a book. And you're talking to, pretty much, just think of it like the Necronomicon, right? Like a grimoire. And you're talking to a spell book who's a character who's hilarious. I haven't heard all the English voices, but the Japanese.
Don't get any of your grime on my pages.
He's a funny character who's endearing, and basically it's a great story conceit in that he's got the story of the life of a wizard gone mad, and who's destroyed the world, and also another sorcerer who was alongside him in his journeys. And basically, you're reliving the journeys of this nameless warlock sorcerer, which is why you can be a man or a woman. You can do this or that. And you can even, because it's a book and you're reliving them, you can fudge with the details of the book a little bit. Like, and then he saved this character. No, and then he killed this character. And then there's little branches that you can enjoy. And there's just a really good narrative structure there where you have the main story, which is your journey with a guy called... In English, it's Magusar. And in Japanese, it's Merlin. And obviously, they didn't use Merlin because we have a preconception of what Merlin is in the West, right? Like you immediately, everyone gets something in their head when you say Merlin. You're like, aha, King Arthur and the man. But in Japan, it's not as heavy with that. But I like the name Merlin.
Yeah, I think Merlin is a better name than Magusar. Like, okay.
But so you have your main story journey with him and his journey into darkness. And the way the game is told is that basically because I'm not going to give away any of the story spoilers, because there's a lot of really, really good story stuff here. Like, as a story game, this thing is an A+. It is fantastic. If not an S tier.
I've said multiple times it might still be, because it's like right now Final Fantasy XIV is also really high up there, but like this game, the story and the stories in this game, because like every one of the monsters that you fight, like how in Monster Hunter they'll give you like details, that we crossed this bull with a gorilla, and here's Rajang, right? And it's like, and here's why it works like this, and it's got this, and then it eats the horns, the Kirin, that's why it's got electricity.
So imagine that every boss had a 9 to 15 page story. Yep. A really well written story at that you could read through, that gives you the entire mythology and story and the myth behind the monster. Nothing like scientific, but more like storytelling, almost like like dark, like the Grimm brothers, right? Which is the Grimm faction. So you got like this whole main story with Magusar, and it's fully narrated. It doesn't play out in cutscenes. It plays out like a visual novel in a way. In many cases, where it sort of reminds me of Lost Odyssey and how they did the Thousand Dreams, where it's really good voice acting, and they do a lot of really interesting storytelling things with the text. Like some of the text will look like it's blood on the screen. Some will be dark and bold. Some will be small, and It's all fully voiced, and it's really interesting. And my daughter watched the entire story with me. She's a big fan of Soul Sacrifice, by the way.
Yeah.
She really loves the story. So she said, don't you dare do a story quest unless I'm there. So she's watched the entire story and listened to it. She's really enjoyed it. So you get that whole major story, and that's basically the critical path through the game, right? But you also have, as a side treat, because sometimes you'll hit walls, or sometimes you just want some variation. You've got 3 chapters for each of the factions, they're calling them, right? You've got the Avalon, which are the sorcerers who, and I'll have to say the whole story has to do with the idea that be careful what you wish for, because it just it's like a deal with the devil, right? It's like there's some force or something that is appearing to people at a time of absolute despair, and you feel real bad for these people. And it's like a chalice or something evil. And it says,
the golden chalice.
If you want out, if you want this, sacrifice something of equal value, and I will give it to you. And these people are in impossibly horrible situations. We're talking like tortured, maimed. They need to escape, right? But they wish for a way out, and they always get screwed in the end. It's like, be careful what you wished for, right? Because they get played. And the idea is that these sorcerers that are running around with, like, they've got their magical hand, the sorcery will eventually eat their soul, and they will eventually turn mad. And so it's a very despairing tale of all these bosses and all these characters are just people put in bad situations where things went wrong. Sometimes they were a little bit of asses, sometimes they were good people, but you can always understand what happened to them, and you feel bad. So it's like, do you sacrifice and say, look, the end's just, I don't care about the situation. You've done some horrible stuff. You have to be taken out. Or do you try to save them, which, could just be holding the time until they go crazy again, right? So you get this whole wonderful narrative. So you got the Avalon faction, which is the group of sorcerers who believe, I don't care what your circumstances were. If you've gone dark and you've become a demon and you're now killing innocent people, you need to be put down. So their goal is to go out there and put down the demons. So they sacrifice, but they're not mean about it, right? Like I think the game is very sensible in that it realizes, it's very aware of what's going on. No one's happy-go-lucky like, I'm a killer of magic. It's like they're all doomed, all these sorcerers.
Yeah.
Like they're not.
There's a couple of them that like lost their mind and they're going like, yeah, I'm gonna sacrifice. Yeah, but there's like it's because they're already too far gone. They didn't start like that. They're just like, oh.
So you get your Avalon side stories, right? And these are optional, but obviously you do them because they help you get spells to progress in the main story. And it's separated by chapters, right? And each chapter covers one major character from that faction, and you get to learn who they are. There's some really deep, good stories with some of these NPCs that you really become attached to them, to the point that I just spent $130 on Midcardie to buy a figurine of Red Riding Hood because I like her so much.
See, that's another thing. Over there they call her Red Riding Hood. Here's like Samila or something like that. I'm just like, what? She has a different name.
Yeah, the names are very
English.
different.
Yeah.
Well, she's got another name, but that's part of the story, so I won't talk about that. But that's Red Riding Hood, and she's awesome, and she's part of the Grimm faction. So you got Avalon as that, and it's not like you just go through the whole Avalon story and then you go back. It's like you go back and forth between the two because the difficulties jump, right? So it's like reminds me of Monster Hunter Generations, where you're kind of like, now I'm doing Burna, now I'm going to go do some Yukumo, now I'm going to go do some Poke Village. Like you get a nice variety, and you can change your faction over and over again. So like. That's Avalon. Then you've got the absolute opposite, which is Sanctuary, which is we believe that we should save these people.
I love how you go, oh, so they believe this, and then when you go to Sanctuary, it's like we believe. you guys can tell which faction Gaijin's a part of.
So did I say that?
Yeah, you did. Funny. We believe he's already spreading the gospel of the Sanctuary.
I'm gonna get a tattoo of the insignia on my shoulder. But Sanctuary believes that there's still hope in the world. People deserve to be saved, but they do need to be taken care of. So you use magic at your own means, at your own sacrifice, to help others. So it flips everything from Avalon, right? Where in Avalon, you recharged your spells and you got power from killing. In this one, you get power from saving It's a very cool idea. It's a simple mechanic because basically you're just doing a different thing when you kill a monster. You're either going to press L or R and you choose. Luckily, you hold it down so you don't accidentally do something that you don't want to do. But it's a great faction. It's like, it's got its own stories as well. Where I think the original vanilla game screwed up a little bit was that apparently, like, they didn't have the idea in place that you could play as just pure Sanctuary and save everybody because you wouldn't be recharging your spells unless you sacrifice. So the game was pushing you to be Avalon, which is kind of against its core philosophy.
It's not even just pushing you to be Avalon. If I remember the game correctly, the way that it used to work in the original was like, you need to heal yourself, time to go blue. You need to recharge your spells, time to go red. That was like the balance. It's like, you could save animals and that would heal your health, or you could sacrifice them and that would heal your spells. But
so if you follow me on Twitter, I was going insane trying to find information on wikis and stuff, and I can't find it. One, now because I know they didn't tell anybody about Delta when they released it, and two, they reshuffled all the quests, where it used to be called like Avalon packs and stuff like that. None of these quest names exist anymore in Delta because they reshuffled it. Yep. They made it in a way that you can be any one of these. So when you join Sanctuary, you can be a Sanctuary player.
I should have seen the one time Gaijin calls was like, can you do a call real quick? And I'm like, yeah, sure. And it's like, dude, I can't find this goddamn quest. I was like, what? He's losing his mind trying to figure out where's the Avalon Pact something. I can't find it. And I'm like, yeah, it doesn't exist.
Yeah, it's because the wikis, like, for the people who were passionate about it, they covered the first game. But there's not a lot of information about the second one. Yeah. One, that's thanks to Sony. And I'm sure some people who are listening to us are like, dude, I love the first game. I didn't know there was a second one. Like, I didn't realize it was that. Yeah, well, I'll get into that. I have a lot of notes here on what they changed. But yeah, it's significant. So you got Sanctuary, but then Delta added in the obvious ideal third faction, which is probably what is their idea of the sequel was, which is Grimm. And it's all based on the Grimm brothers. And, like Hansel and Gretel, Little Red Riding Hood, Three Little Pigs. Very grotesque reimaginings of those dark tales. And the Grimm faction says, you know what? It's not my place to decide. It's up to fate. So when you go up to an enemy that you've killed, you hold down both L and R, and the game decides for you whether it's going to kill them or it's going to save them. And you're just, yeah, you absorb. You can pretend that you're absorbing yourself from the choice.
None of my business.
When really, yeah. And what I think is so funny about that faction, and you've mentioned this to me, and I've now played all the factions, so I know, but they go so hard on the concept that you, like in other factions, you have to care about your battle ranking. Like, did I break all the parts? Did I do it without taking a lot of damage? And you get points for all these things, and depending on how good your points are, you get better rewards at the end of the quest. Grimm, it don't matter.
It's random.
It's all up. It says, you know what? I leave it to fate what I get. I could have been the sloppy ass person and I get the rarest items, or I could be the best player and get crap.
But they still show you like the things that you've done, very much like the others, where it's like, oh, you used the right element.
But there's no points, and there's like no points next to it. Because they say the Grimm sorcerers accept their fate no matter what it is. And it's so funny because it's kind of fun when you're up against a monster that you're just not having an easy time breaking the parts and getting all those points. So just switch over to Grimm, kill it a few times, let fate decide what to do to it, and you'll probably get the items that you want. So it's a really cool, and it's got its own NPCs, and there's like 4 or 5 major NPCs. Yeah. So the game is loaded with content. And then outside of, like, so you got 3 faction side stories, you got the main story, and then you've got the glorious menu, which is the packs. So basically it's just a quest list. It's where they just put in a crap ton of quests and monsters. I'm going to give you guys an idea of how much stuff is in this game. So there's 7 chapters to Avalon with 28 quests, which is that's a lot of gameplay right there. There's 3 chapters and 12 Sanctuary quests, 3 chapters and 13 Grimm quests, 6 tutorial quests, which I say tutorial, but it's actually a story. And
I know which one you're talking about.
It's a very heartfelt story.
Oh yeah.
I shed a tear. 5 chapters and 26 main story quests. There is 10 chapters and 140 side quests. These are the ones I'm talking about, these packs. Yep. 140 of them. Then
does that include the crossover quests? No.
No. So that's just side quests. Then you've got 10 chapters. So that's 10 chapters, 140. Then you've got 3 chapters and 38 additional quests, which were like download event quests that they did over time. Then you've got 2 chapters of 28 what they call black page quests, which is like G rank. It's like super hard quests, and it's like the G rank of the game. Then they have 42 like actual DLC quests. Like I don't know if I have free downloadable content.
I don't know if I have those. The 42 DLC ones.
Oh, really? Well, you also have to unlock them. Some of them unlock as you progress through the game. They're not all available at once.
I'm just saying that I think that there was a lot of DLC that only came out in Japan. I don't think everything came out to the... Yeah.
You got to be kidding me.
I don't think everything came out to the West, dude. I think that we got screwed over big time in the West. I'll tell you what, though. I have the... Whatever is the guy...
Wait, how is that possible, though? Because... It's non-region locked, so that stuff has to be in the game because you can go online with players with all those spells and stuff, anyways.
It's got to be there. I remember, but the thing is that the Vita store was a mess, so I don't remember everything exactly, but I do remember that at least for the original Soul Sacrifice, I can guarantee you there was quests that did not make it to the West. There were a lot of quests that didn't make it to the West. Because I remember, I was trying to like work around, and I was like, what if I got like a Japan account, and then it's like, no, forget about it. Because the Vita had that thing with the one account thing. You can only have like one account in order to swap it. It was a pain. So yeah, that one thing that I can tell you though is that in Soul Sacrifice, I didn't even remember this, but in Soul Sacrifice Delta, whatever is the crossover with God Eater, I've done it. Because I have a sword that I can summon. I have a sword that I can summon that's basically a God Eater sword, and basically you can charge it up. And when you charge it up, it actually does the whole thing where it opens up like in God Eater, and it takes a chunk out of the monster, and it buffs your character. Okay, this is the level of crossover quests we're talking about in this game.
Yeah, so like, there's 5 extra test requests which I haven't done. I actually haven't even unlocked them. And I've played for almost 100 hours now. There's 11 collaboration quests. So again, I'm assuming Delta fixed that problem. I think that it got all the stuff because you can matchmake with everybody. So if the quests are already implemented in the game, there's no reason why it's hard to tell that they're DLC quests because of the creative way that they name everything in the menus.
Yeah.
The menus there's a lot of menus. There's so many quests. You'd be like, oh my god. But DLC stuff. So they had Marduk from God Eater 2.
Yeah, that's the one that I've killed.
However you want to call it. They have. Forgive me for butchering these names. There's Dionea from Freedom Wars.
Dionea? I don't know.
Dionea. It's like a huge mechanical dragon thingy.
Yeah. That sounds
It's pretty cool. Then they have the Chthonian Fiend and the Abyssal Fiend from Tokiden.
Oh my God,
it's like they just said, you know what? Let's band together. And then they even have some weird costume stuff for Wild Arms of all things, the RPG.
I've never played Wild Arms.
Yeah, me neither. So it's just hilarious to hear, and some other like crazy.
And here's an interesting thing. Tokiden also had crossover quests from Soul Sacrifice, so you had monsters from Soul Sacrifice and here's the thing, because I remember that at the time I played more Tokiden because my friends were more into Tokiden than Soul Sacrifice. Even though I liked Soul Sacrifice more, they were more into Tokiden. So, and I remember doing the Soul Sacrifice quests. So my character in Tokiden looked like the basic character from Soul Sacrifice with the raiment and whatnot, and it was really cool.
But like, I was looking at the rollout map here in Japan, and it was insane. They did a half year of incredibly focused updates. So from April 3rd, 2014 until September 18th, so over half a year, they started out with like, they added in new character voices for all the, like, people love the NPCs and they wanted to cosplay as them. And if you get there's a whole thing where like, if you hunt a lot with this NPC, their trust system goes up, and then they get better spells. So you can actually like raise them, and if you don't want to just grind it, you could just give them a bunch of items that you don't want anymore.
You can give them spells.
You can get the mess tier, but it's really funny because if you bring like a sanctuary girl with you and you kill a monster, her trust will go down with you because she's like, "How dare you, you dirty fiend!" and she'll scream at you for doing it. It's really funny.
I remember
but they added
that,
in a bunch of.
You just reminded me that I used to like, I like this character. I'll take this character with me. And then like, I was just
what are you
go up to
doing?
the monster. They would try to save it, and you could see because you can see the energy coming through. We're going to save. We will, and the character would even say, "We will save you." And I'm just like, "Nope, this one's a goner. He's dead forever."
What's funny is if you have two NPCs that are trying to save a monster and you're trying to kill it, they'll beat you.
Yeah,
you won't be able to kill them.
Yeah,
you have
majority
to bring
rules.
Someone else who's.
See, that's the beauty of being Grim. You never have to fight over it. It's like, whatever you guys want to kill it, kill it. I don't care. None of my business.
Whatever. And then like a month later, they added in some more NPC bosses where it's not just monsters that you fought, but there was a way to replay some of the story quests. Then the next month they added in.
I think it's important.
Stop me as I go on.
No, it's important to clarify just one thing, which is we're talking about how NPCs would save monsters and you'd sacrifice them. And we're talking about if you sacrifice, you level up your damage, and if you save, you level up your health and defense. And you guys, some people might be like, well, I got to be really careful with that because otherwise I might level up the wrong thing and then I'm screwed. No, because the game just lets you straight up down level things that you don't want. So it's like, I got like 3 levels in Sanctuary that I didn't want. That's fine. De-level them, no problem.
Scrub it.
The one thing that the game doesn't let you do,
even if you kill a character, you can go back to that same quest and save them, and it's like it never happened.
The one thing it doesn't let you do as easily is get levels back. So, like, say for instance, you're 50 red and 20 blue, and you downscale the red by like 10, and you apply that. You can't just like go back and like, hey, I want to raise that back up. It's like, nope, that's going to cost you. Wait, you can level it back up, but it costs you too much. It's not. You're probably not going to have enough.
Gaining levels is very
easy.
easy. Like
it's
very like I'll put it this way: the max level you can get is 100, so it's a split between red and white. Like if you kill, you get more attack power. If you save, you get more defense and heal, and so you can balance your build, so to say, however you want. And then certain spells and things only unlock if you have certain thresholds. Yeah. So, for example, I went 99-1. So you can't get rid of that one. I won't tell you why, but you always have one blood stain on you for narrative reasons. But I had 99 where I did nothing but save everybody. That was my first time through. I then sacrificed all 100 levels to get a special sigil for my heart, which is like, okay, we're going to give you 110% damage up for using lances. Boom! It's like a permanent like buff that you can apply to your character. And then I leveled it all the way back up to 100 again, sacrificed all those hundreds to get the heart sigil for the blood. Then I went through a third time and I sacrificed it for the arm. And now I'm on my 4th time and I'm already at level 85.
Jesus Christ. You're
it's
a machine.
Not that bad,
I've never. It's basically like prestiging. I've never prestiged not even once in that game. But that's also because
there's monsters that you can't beat if you don't do that. The G ranks like Delta stuff gets really hard.
The thing is, like, I would swap between Avalon and Grim too often, and basically, in order to do that properly, you would have to constantly reshuffle your stats around. And so I would waste a lot of my stats doing that.
Yeah, because you're like leveling one, then you're de-leveling, then you're leveling and de-leveling. It's like, stop it.
Yeah, exactly. That's basically what I did throughout a lot of it because I'm like, I really like Avalon. I also like Grim. I really like Avalon. I also like Grim. Like right now, I'm 45-45. So I'm full Grim and I'm level 90 basically.
You gotta get to 100 and sacrifice it all. You gotta.
Yeah, I'm already
so
thinking,
many of these special sigils that you can get for sacrificing.
I'm already thinking about what I'm gonna do. I'm probably going to sacrifice for weapons, and then I'm going to sacrifice for throne. I think because those two you can get sweet bonuses out of Grim. So that's probably what I'm gonna end up doing. Weapons and throne.
Yeah, so it allows you to specialize and make a build for a specific type of weapon. It's really fun. And I would say that there's like many different ways to play the game, but each faction basically has 3 very main play styles that they offer you, and you can use totally different ones if you want. But like lances and blood attacks are specialities of Sanctuary. But you can actually play blood builds using like Avalon as well. Like it's
the
really
lance thing. The
fun.
lance thing is one that really bothers me because I love the lance spell.
The lance is so good.
You have to be Sanctuary if you want to use lance because lance
gives
you a lot. It gives you a lot of reach when you use it. Like
and you can break.
Actually, it's not even lance.
Easily.
It's not even lance. It's spear. We're just calling it lance because monster on it, but it's spears. It's actually spears.
Yeah. It's a spear. But then they added a boss called Succubus. They added in some stories, added in new outfits and voices you can earn, added in Grim Story. Then they added in a feature called the Endless, I don't know what it's called in English. It's the Endless Maze of Alice.
Alice's Maze. Alice's Maze.
So this is themed off of a very dark, bloody ass version of Alice in Wonderland. And so it's like a bloody teapot that you get on a platform. It's like an elevator, and you just keep going down to the depths of hell. And each floor is a random encounter that gets harder and harder and harder. And then
have
every
you done
third
that yet?
floor, yeah, I haven't gone all the way through though. So all the way through technically is like level 30. Have you gotten through to level 30 or no?
No, I don't remember when I've lost, but I streamed it. I made a live stream where I was just like going down, and I spent. I don't even know how many hours I spent on there, but then I got to a point where this is too much. Like stuff was destroying the two guys that were with me, and then I was trying to save them, and then it would destroy me, and they would save me. It was like a death chain. We just kept dying until it's like, nope, there's no more health to go around. We're all dead.
Yeah. So every third floor, you get the opportunity to leave and collect all the rewards of everything that you've killed. Or you can just fight till you die and it's game over. So
I just
and then
realized
at certain floors, like floor 6, floor 12, and like there's like you meet Alice, who's a very grotesque character. And then at floor 30, I think is where you actually get to kill it.
Yeah, it's like the now that I'm thinking about it, that might actually be one of the ways that I can actually get one of the items that I need, because I need a very specific item that apparently there's no quest for that item. Yeah, you need to.
No,
you need to get it randomly through a blank. You need to get it randomly through a blank page.
We'll talk about blank pages. Those aren't that bad.
But I think you need to get it randomly through a blank page. Or I was thinking maybe you can get it through Alice's Maze as well. I didn't consider that.
What's the item?
It's the monster Pied Piper.
Yeah.
So the Pied Piper, the only quest that you have, it drops the seed things on plus. I need the version of them that doesn't have the plus.
that's he pops up all the time on blank pages.
Yeah, I haven't gotten him yet.
You can influence it. We'll talk about blank pages in a little bit. But so they had this whole endless maze, which is it's a whole nother layer of content. Then they added in an invading monster. I don't know if you've been invaded by Bahamut or not, but Bahamut is an invading monster like Devil Joe, where every now and then he will invade a quest, and he's like he's not a
G
dragon,
rank
he's a
only
character. Probably, maybe, I don't know.
No, I remember I haven't killed Magisar.
Yeah, so Bahamut is hilarious. He's fun to fight. Then they added in like a new story for Avalon and some new bosses. They did the Wild Arms collab. They did Tokiden. They added in a monster called Gigas. They did Gravity Days. They have some really nice outfits for Gravity Days. They added in a monster called Odin. They did the Freedom War collab.
Gravity Days being Gravity Rush.
Rush.
It's actually called Gravity Rush in the West.
Oh, wow. Okay. Wow. Okay.
Another, by the way, another extremely underrated game, but somehow that game got picked to actually escape the prison that was the Vita, dude. Ooh, and it still remained incredibly underrated though, because not enough people bought it. Like I think the second one they considered to be a flop. I think they considered it a flop.
Wasn't that done by Toyama-san? So that would make sense, because he's a long time director in Sony, so that would make sense. Because as far as I can tell, watching the credits of this game and reading up about it, the original concept came from Keiji Inafune, right? Like the ex-Capcom, unfortunately now blemished with Mighty Number 9. It was his original idea, and his company Concept, which is sort of like ex-Capcom employees and stuff, and they pitched it to Sony, and Sony invested in the game, and most of the development though was done by Marvelous AQL, which is the people who did like what God Eater games. They did Monster Hunter Stories 2, Monster Hunter Stories 1. Like Marvelous is a very capable developer, and it seems like they did the majority of the chops, but the actual writing, the whole game design was all done by a different director who actually went indie last year. He left Concept and he became indie, and I'm just like, oh my god, you gotta kickstart this shit, like buy the rights. I almost want to do a Kickstarter to say, hey, can we buy the rights for Soul Sacrifice to give to him so that he can, and it's like, but anyway, so like,
and he's like, I don't want it, and you're just like, shut up, take it. Just take this. Make it.
But there's one gameplay point that you brought up which is really worth mentioning, which is interesting, which is, okay, if it's like Monster Hunter, then what is the condition for quest failure? And it's super unique. So you have quests with 3 people, right? And it doesn't scale, so it's always 3. So if you think you're going to get cheeky and just like not bring NPCs along with you, don't do it, because you're hurting yourself. Yeah. And the NPCs are very capable. Like, they're really good. They're not like Kyle from Stories 2. Like, they actually know what the hell they're doing.
Kyle or Kuroth, who is also pretty useless on the
I'm charging my bow. I'm charging my bow over here.
Yeah,
I might die, but I don't care. Charging my bow.
Oh man, Kyle's terrible.
It's gotta hate him. But so the fail conditions for this game is unique in that, so you got 3 guys, and so the first time I died, I was like, and then I realized the game wasn't over. I'm like, wait, what happened? And you're laying there on the ground dead. And you get 3 options. One is like, okay, I'm just going to retire from the quest, and we'll do it over again, and I'll just choose to die. And then the other 2 is you can ask for your teammates to either save you or sacrifice you.
Dude, that is
and so of course
good.
I'm like, okay, save me, please. So I hit the save, and what happens is one of the NPCs will run up to you, and hopefully they don't get knocked away over and over again. But they'll run up to you very fast, and they'll heal you, and they'll bring you back to life with like half health. But the thing is every time they do that, they get weaker. They're given part of their, right?
They don't get weaker. They lose. They sacrifice half their health to give to you.
Yeah. So they sacrifice their health, which means that it could be possible that then they go on and
you
die.
You can heal them though, and they can heal themselves.
You can, yeah. So it's kind of interesting that the game does give you an option to almost have infinite deaths, but the thing is at the end of the quest, you're not going to have the best rewards if you went ahead and just did all that. But if you choose sacrifice me, which I never did until you told me about this, you say, and this works multiplayer as well, or with NPCs, and you're like, you know what, sacrifice me. Like you're getting close or whatever, and you're the weakest link in the chain, so to say. You can say, sacrifice me. They will come up and they will take your life, and then you will become a ghost, and you're still in the hunt.
Yeah.
So it's its own unique mode where you're walking around with ghost vision. For the only time ever in the game, you can see the health bar of the opponents.
The health bar, yes.
You can see the damage of different attacks, so you can start gauging, and you can actually go through and start figuring out the strength of spells. You can then tap on a boss to do a very small knock to their defense, to debuff them, or you can tap on your allies to give them a small buff.
And you can possess your allies as well.
Yeah. So like, as you were saying, like it's very much an arena-based type of like stage. It's not very big. So there's different parts of the stage which have energy in them that will either heal you, give you like one-time use weapons and stuff like that. And as a spirit, if you go over to, let's say, like a buff and you absorb it, you can then target your teammate, possess them, and give them the buff.
Yeah,
which is crazy. Or if you grab,
you can also
weapon,
give them. You can
go and attack.
You can also give them offering renewals, which is like recharging their spells. You can do all kinds of cool stuff. Even
so, you're still in the game, just in a very different form, and it's really fun.
It's because nobody wants to be, nobody wants like, there's 3 of us, we're all playing together. Oh, but our friend died and we can't save him, or we sacrificed him or whatever, and now he can't play anymore. It's like, no, they keep everybody playing in some form, which is pretty cool.
Smart.
And it's like, that is one of the really cool aspects of it, because like when I realized that I could ask the NPCs to kill me, or even, if I'm playing with friends, and I'm like, I would constantly check the boss's health, because I would actually try to die to get sacrificed, because you even get bonus points. You get points for martyr. You get martyr points at the end.
So the game wants you to use all of its things, and it's not going to punish you or go crazy about it. So there's two other major things I think we got to talk about the game system. And I apologize. I'm so energetic about this game that I'm just yapping on.
I'm happy.
Because you're more than capable of explaining this stuff, but I'm just I'm in love. So
Keep going.
I'm just going off. So the other two very unique aspects about the gameplay is, and I love this, I really love this feature, is when you're running around in a quest, you can press down on the D-pad, and it changes you into vision mode. And what it does is it goes zhwonk, and there's a filter, and it darkens the screen, and items and enemies and allies are highlighted in different colors. What it allows you to do is you can find hidden items throughout the stage that just they're like little orbs that just kind of float around, and they move all the time. And if you find them, you can obtain them. You can also see all the environment gather points for weapons or recharging. You could see your allies, which is good. But the cool thing is you can also get an indicator of where all the breakable parts on a boss is, because you can see little dots on breakable points, and you can even get a small indication of the remaining health. Because if the boss is green, it means that they're at full health. Then if they're yellow, it means that they're about halfway through. If it's orange, then it means, they're on their last 30% or whatever. And if they're red, they're on the last 15%. So you can look at the boss. You can just go shoot, shoot really fast, take a peek. And it's like Monster Hunter though. Once you've broken enough parts, you kind of know.
Yeah.
Okay, this boss, you just know this boss is dead in 3 hits.
Now in Rise, you even get the death marker 100% of the time. In World, you also got a death marker. So yeah, you just kind of know.
But it's kind of neat because in vision mode, you can't attack and you can't do anything. You're literally just sacrificing time so that you can get more information to then drive your decisions, which is great. So I'll constantly toggle between the two and figure out what I want to do. But it's really funny because when you toggle and you see that the boss is red and almost dead, it gives you this rush. You're like, and then you're like, I'm going to sacrifice myself. Martyr time.
Kill myself to sacrifice.
So that's one system. And the other one, and this is probably the one that is mostly predominant in the marketing here, is that, so you have a leveling system, right? So you're level 0 when you start. As you kill, you gain magical power, which is attack, which is red. As you save stuff, you get defense power, which is white. And you certainly go all the way up to level 100, however you split it, 50-50, 80-20, 99-1, whatever you want to do, right? You can be a very tanky character and do lower damage and rely more on buffs, or you can be like a glass cannon. Or you can be balanced. It's totally up to you, and it's very easy to change it. But the thing that you can do is as you level up in tiers, let's say level 20 Sanctuary, you unlock a new Dark Rite. Level 30 Sanctuary, you unlock another Dark Rite. And these Dark Rites are always on the bottom left of the screen. And you could choose one to equip. And the Dark Rites are basically lets you sacrifice a body part for a buff that lasts for a predetermined amount of time that you can use. And then after that buff goes away or that special attack goes away, you're then left with an impairment because of the sacrifice you made. Now, you can use an in-game currency, almost like Chimera points, to restore yourself after every battle, so it's not a big deal. But, you could rip out your eyeball.
Yep.
And you get these, flying little eyeballs around you for, 20, 30 seconds, and you can turn the bosses to stone, and you can petrify and just do tons of magical damage. It could be just all you need to finish the hunt, or it could just get you, past, a hard part. But afterwards, you got tunnel vision because you only got one eye, so you can't see at the corners of your other eyes. And it's like running around with a flashlight because you don't have an eye. You ripped it out.
Yeah.
You could rip out your feet, and so you could do these dive attacks. But then your speed is incredibly impaired afterwards.
And I don't think you can dodge after you sacrifice your feet.
What's your favorite? I think there's I want to say there's like 9 dark rites that you can unlock in the game, but what's your favorite so far?
It's like there's the one that I use the most, and the reason I use it the most is because it's the one that I think has the least penalty, which is Inferno. It's the one that you get at the very start. That's the one that I use the most.
I love it.
Because basically your character sacrifices his skin. He burns off his skin, and there's just massive fire damage on everything on the screen, right? So that's pretty cool. And the only downside of that one is that after you do it, you have less, I think, elemental defense. That's pretty much it. So you take more elemental damage.
Yeah, because you lost your skin. So
it's like it's not really a big negative. It's like if you can dodge most of the attacks anyway, you should be fine. The only thing is like if you're fighting an elemental monster, it's gonna suck for you. But I think the most interesting one, and I haven't done this one in a while, so I don't even remember it that much. I just remember the description of it. Was Excalibur, which is basically your character rips out its own spine and uses it as a sword. Like that has to be the one that I'm like, that is hardcore ripping out your spine and using it as a sword.
I was gonna say, isn't Excalibur the one? I don't have it because you unlock it by leveling up your magic power through sacrificing, and I haven't done the full level 99 sacrifice run, which I'm going to be doing over the next day or two. I'm saying day or two. I'm probably gonna do it all before I go to bed tonight. I'm that obsessed. And then I'll be back to Sanctuary. But I think I could be wrong, but I think you rip out your spine, you become a sword, and then an NPC. Like the NPC uses you. You don't attack. It
might be that
you become a sword. Yeah, you become a sword. They grab you and they can just kick major ass with you, and that is just hilarious.
There's a lot of things like that in the game.
But I would say like, so you get this idea that there's a lot of quests, there's a lot of really cool monsters. There's not a lot to have to worry about. It's very arcadey. There's not a lot of exploration. Monsters don't run away from a map. They're there, you fight them, it's over. There's collection, there's good grinding. Like the whole level up system is interesting, right?
Certain maps are slightly bigger though. It's not just an arena, and sometimes monsters will swap between different areas of the map. So it's not a hunt like Monster Hunter, but it's not just like, oh, here's this enclosed arena and you fight. You know, sometimes monsters will move away,
and it's very, very fast combat. It's much faster than Monster Hunter.
Like there's a spell that you can get for I don't think it's called Supersonic Dash. It's called something, but it's a feather symbol, and you basically use that. And I can barely control my character when I do that. It's like I'll press down, it's like, shwee! It's like, whoa! Your character's just like, woo! Disappears.
Well, the cool thing is there's certain parts of monsters that you can only break if you do that dash and then an attack. It does like a special like dive attack. It will hit
blitz thing
parts.
Or whatever. Yeah.
And that attack will break certain parts on a monster that you can't normally break. So it's actually really, really good.
I'm pretty sure you can break most of them with like Throne, right? Because you can target directly the thing that you want to break. No,
probably, but maybe efficiency.
Yeah.
But the game is very open. Like it doesn't say like.
How about if I blow your mind and tell you about a mechanic that you still haven't talked about? That maybe you haven't even discovered yet.
Well, should we talk about that before we do blank pages, or?
Yes, we definitely should.
Okay, tell me.
Because it's a combat mechanic. So you've seen.
Oh wait, I'm sure I know about it. I already know what you're gonna say.
You do?
Before you even say it.
Okay, what am I gonna say?
Spell combinations.
No, it's not spell combinations.
Oh, you're not talking about spell combinations. We haven't talked about that.
We haven't even talked about spell combinations. Okay, we can talk about spell combinations. You can go ahead. Talk about spell combinations.
Okay, this is more simple, but like this is something that you don't even have to engage in if you don't care about it.
Yeah.
But there are combinations of spells, like we were alluding to before, that if you use a Phoenix Feather, you get like for the next 45 seconds, the duration changes. Whenever you hit evade, you do like a really supersonic dash. And then if you do that while you have a weapon on, you do like a dive attack, and it's really good. It's like a combination. There's things like there's like a little like a plant that blows up, and if you cast fire on it, it'll like rain fire from the sky. So there's spells that can combine and synergize to do different things, which just adds tons more layer of things that you can do in the game. There's like my favorite though is there's a monster called the Behemoth, but instead of like a behemoth, it's actually a tree, and all the apples have like teeth on them. It's really bizarre. But it's got a spell where you summon a tree with apples, and if you pick an apple and then you consume it, it gives you an attack boost of like 50 or something crazy. Or you can press square to throw it at your NPCs and power them up. But you can throw the apple into the tree and fuse it with the other apple, and then take that, and it makes you even more stronger. And so when I level that thing up to max, I get 3 apples. It's plus 200 attack. That's
temporary, right?
For reference, because I have it at black level 3, it lasts for 440 seconds.
Oh my god, dude!
So imagine this, like in my game, as a sanctuary player, I only have I have 105 attack. That's it. Where Ruri has like 400 or something.
Probably like.
But when I take when I start a quest, I just immediately summon my apples, fuse them, eat them, take the third one. I either leave it there for later, or I throw it on the NPCs to make them stronger. I'm 300 attack with 998 defense. Like I'm a tank, and I'm killing stuff. There's some really fun broken stuff you can do. I think the game was more broken in its vanilla release. You could break the game. The balancing was not that well done. So they did a lot of rebalancing. You could still break it, though, which is why the game reminds me so much of Dragon's Dogma.
Yeah.
Just because you get to redo stuff. There's no right answer. You can experiment and have fun. And it's just
there's another combination.
What's this mechanic?
No, I just wanted to give another combination for people because this is one of my favorite combinations, which is there's a type of spells called the terrain spells, and these are actually really good because they'll buff just about everything. So like you'll put a terrain spell down, and this is basically an AoE area that'll deal a certain amount of elemental damage. So say you put down a fire one, deals fire damage in that enclosed area that you put that thing in. Now, the thing is, there's another thing, which is a seed that you can put down. And this seed is basically, I think it's called a bomb, if I remember correctly. Yeah, I think it's called a bomb. And you put the bomb on top of that terrain thing. And because that looks like a seed, it basically grows into a plant that fires by itself like a turret. So that's one of my favorite combinations. And then with that thing, you can also basically if you do a mortar type spell, you can stand on top of the terrain effect, and that will buff the mortar. If you do throne spells, it'll buff the throne spells. It's like you can buff all kinds of stuff so long as you're using the same element. Like there's a lot of crazy things that you can do with the terrain extend thing. But the mechanic that I wanted to tell you about is actually I don't know what the name of the mechanic is, but I'm just going to refer to it as element saturation. So you know how when you hit a monster with the element that it's weak to, it will tell you like monster weakness achieved or something like that. So if you keep hitting the monster with that element repeatedly, and I do mean repeatedly because you have to hit it a ton of times. Say for instance you're hitting it with fire. You can get to a point where you achieve something called infernal hell. Have you ever gotten that?
I actually don't think I have. I know of the feature a little bit, but I've never actually achieved it.
Yeah, so basically if you keep pounding the monster with an element that is weak to, I think you can also do it with elements that it's not weak to, but it's probably easier if you pound it with the element that it's weak to. And you just repeatedly pound. And eventually you get like infernal hell achieved. And then you swap the element to the opposing element, and you will get like something called an elemental break or whatever it is, which gives you a bunch of bonus points. Yeah. It's freaking crazy, dude. So it's like each element has an opposite. So I think that the opposite of poison is fire. So like you go for poison and you achieve like poisonous hell, whatever it's called. It's probably a different name. And then after that, you throw like one fire spell at it, and he takes like a chunk of damage because, first you saturated him with poison. It's almost like you put a bunch of gunpowder on him, and then you ignited everything. And you can do the same thing if you do fire and then ice, and I think it was lightning and then earth. And there's a bunch of combos that.
What spell is good for that? Because the spear does not. Weapon type things are not going to do it. The way that I would usually do it is I would have the plant spell that I'm talking about, and I would spam that, and on top of that, I would use mortars, because mortars deal a chunk of elemental damage,
And so it'd be like my builds, if you go and watch the videos of when I was playing back then, my builds would basically be put the flower down and then just like spam mortars and spam mines. Because you were talking about how you put the flower and then you throw the mine spells and it sucks them up and then starts. I would do that one too. So I would do everything that would spit stuff at the monster and just like saturate it with as much as I could. And then it would trigger, and I was like, and now break. Boom. It feels so good, dude.
So
you got to try that out.
Just how many different ways. This is where I feel like it's like Dragon's Dogma. There's so many different ways to approach the game that you're like, I've never tried that.
Yeah, because
you've
you're
got this ultra aggressive, like Grim Avalon aggressive style. I've got this Sanctuary thing going on where I'm just buffing the living crap out of myself and spewing my blood, because the blood spells never break. They're unlimited. You can use them forever.
But they use wonderful. Your health.
Yeah, so you tank and you regen and you just go. It's really fun.
Yeah, but that's the thing, cool. Like, because you have 100 hours into the game and you haven't done. You probably have done it. You just haven't even realized it. Like getting an infernal hell or something like that. Yeah, but I used to do that all the time. So like all of my builds would have like one heal and then 4 spells of one element. And then 1 spell of the opposite element that I only use to break the thing. Although it's like, if you're smart, you would just have someone bring in the other spell and you would saturate with the same thing. And that would be even better.
So I was going to say, the good thing is that because you're not going to be playing with other people, and I really want people to know that you can go, if you have a Vita or if you can get one cheaper used, I highly recommend you just go buy this game now while the Vita store is still up. Yep. It's super. I've not played online with other people outside that one time for fun. The NPCs are fantastic. Like you can see what items they have with them. So if you wanted to do something like you're talking about, you could totally achieve it.
You could
with the NPCs.
Yeah.
So I guess the other big thing I want to talk about is the grind, which is how you level up stuff and what you grind for. So like when you finish a quest, you get, they call them offerings, but it's basically spells.
It's spells.
So you get spells. You get 2 rewards based on your faction. So if you're Sanctuary, it will always give you like either a dash blitz thing, which is like you're invincible and you just fly through the air and you just head bash something. Or it gives you a spear, which is, like I said, is like a lance. It's a fixed category type that goes well with the playstyle of that faction. So you get a fixed reward. Then you get additional rewards for stuff like you do during the battle, like breaking parts and doing stuff like that. And then you get some additional bonuses as well. So pretty much what it does is if you get spells, and let's say that the boss has 2 unique spells, right? So let's say we're going at it's a good example, Cerberus or something, right? Cerberus has like a spear through his body, and he pulls it out during the hunt and attacks you with it. And I believe it was Cerberus. And if you kill him enough times, or if you kill him and you break his parts, you can get his spear.
Yep.
Which as a Sanctuary player, it's
a really cool spear.
So you get the spear, and then what happens is when you get one item, and let's say you also get like 2 healing items just randomly, right? For doing the quest rewards. Because they'll tell you what the quest rewards could be when you go into a quest. So what happens is, let's say I have a bronze spear, and I get a second one, right? I can then, it's always in 2s. I can fuse those 2 together, and it becomes bronze with a single star. And what it does is it increases its power. Sometimes it increases duration. Sometimes it increases the amount of times you can use the spell before it breaks and goes away, and stuff like that. And when a spell breaks, you can repair it after the quest, so don't worry. You don't actually lose anything in this game. And so the idea is that, okay, now I need 2 more, because if I can get 2 more, I can make a second 1-star one and combine those to make a 2-star one. Yep. And then I need to get 4, because if I have 4, I can combine those into 1-star, make them a 2-star, and then combine 2 2-stars to make the final form, which is a 3-star. Yep. And you start out in the game and you have the bronze spells. Then you've got the silver spells, which is the same versions but better. The old spells. And then at the very end, for the Delta stuff, for the really hard quest, they pay out a generic item depending on which faction you're on. So if you're Sanctuary, it's got its own name. If you're Grim, it's its own name, whatever. And it's a special item. It almost reminds me of like the Apex system. Like it's a special item you get for doing very difficult quests that you use, and you fuse it with a gold spell, and it makes it into a black spell. And what I like about the game is that it's balanced in a way that the black spells are like the G rank. They're really powerful, like stupid powerful. Like the lance, like a gold thunder lance will be like, I don't know. I'm just gonna speak out of my ass because I can't remember. But let's say it's like 90 attack power, right? And 20 uses. Where the black one will be like 160 attack, but only 7 uses. So they don't make it ultimately hands down the best spell in the game. It generally is, but they are harder to use. They either have weirder durations or they have less. You have to level those things up because they have less uses and stuff like that. So I still take gold triple star spells with me combined with my black spells. And so when I have an enemy down, I'll switch to a black spell and go ham. If not, then I'll use my gold one as I try to replenish everything and stuff. So I love the system, and it's just such a drip because they're random. They're RNG. You don't get them all the time. So sometimes, like I think I had to kill. There's a ghost called Cat Sith.
Cat Sith.
It's like
Kate Sith.
Kate Sith.
I think that's like you should know Kate Sith. I think that's like some kind of Japanese thing. He shows up on a lot of video games.
Final Fantasy VII being the one that comes to mind, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So the Sith appears, and it's basically a ghost with the head of a cat. And this thing is hilarious because it has 2 major moves that it does against you because it's always running around the arena. It's really hard to catch. It's got one attack where it's just doing massive claw swipes at you, which hurt. And it's got another one where it summons like paws out of the ground, and then they swipe at you almost like zombie arms. And you can get both of those as spells as rewards. And I think I had to hunt like, I want to say I had to kill like 13 or 14 of them in order to finally get its claws. But because it was a harder quest, it was gold. The game is smart enough that it doesn't require you to be like, you can't take a bronze and make it silver. You can't take a silver and make it gold. You can only take a gold and make it black, but they don't require you to have like level 3. So all I needed was 1 drop, and then I was immediately able to fuse it into make a black spell, and now I've got a triple star Kate Sith claw blood attack. It is amazing.
And the cool thing about it is like you have generic versions of certain spells. So like you will have generic versions of spears that behave like regular spears. And then you have like the Cerberus spear, which is different from other spears. And while it might have like a similar element, like you might have a regular thunder spear, because I think the Cerberus spear is thunder. I'm not 100% sure. No, actually, It is thunder, because I think I was confusing it with Valkyrie. But anyway, so the Cerberus spear is thunder. So there's a regular thunder spear, and then there's the Cerberus spear. And the difference is, with spears, the way that it works is like you can spam the button and you do attacks, or you can do a finishing attack by keeping the button pressed. And the way that it works is like, so the generic spear has a generic finisher, but then the Cerberus spear will have like a special finisher, which I don't remember what it is, but I remember really liking the Cerberus spear.
Yeah, the finishers do really good damage. So like sometimes I'll just immediately go straight to the finisher. I'll just hold down the button and immediately just do the finisher and do it like several times in a row, and then I'll just go kill some fodder or restore my magic really fast or switch over. Yeah, but like you get a good amount. The button in combat comes down to basically press or hold. So it's not complicated. It's positioning. There's even a spell that lets you summon up a platform from underneath you. It raises you up on like a plateau. You like get raised in the air, and then you can attack high spots and stuff on a monster. It's great. Yeah. So I'm up against a dragon, and I'm like, oh, I'm poking at your face now. It's fun.
And there's even combos that you can do with the rising stuff as well, but I don't remember what those were.
Oh man, it's so fun. And then I guess the last system to talk about before we talk about the bosses is I really want to pick your brain and hear what you think about these bosses. Is I did a video just the other day on this actually, but the game has an absolute brilliant system. So like if you notice in the game, I haven't talked about armor at all, right? Because the game armor is aesthetic. It has nothing to do with your power. It's only aesthetic, and you can play around with it.
The only like passive bonuses that you get is these seals that you carve onto your
we didn't
arm.
talk about. Yeah, we didn't talk about sigils. Shit.
Yeah, sigils. It's basically like you have an arm that's your spell arm, and you just place sigils on it. And these are things that you get by like defeating certain monsters, and they'll give you different passive effects, and they'll buff different things.
So I forget because that's like the core. I actually think that that's even more important than the spells. That's actually at the core grind of the game. So like you have, was it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5?
I think it's 6.
You have 5.
It's 5?
Well, the 6th one is your hand, and that's more for visual appearance. There's a small little bonus, but it's
visual
just
appearance
bonus.
and a small bonus. Yeah.
So but you get like 5 major slots, and there is a crap ton of these things. So you'll have something like Spear Sigil 1, and it'll say increases spear damage by 20% or 10% or whatever. And it says if you are Sanctuary, you'll get an additional 20% or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And you get it. And then you see a grayed out version of the level 2 version of it. And then you can look at it and it says, okay, well, to get level 2, you need to have a Gargoyle Soul and you need to have a Werewolf Soul. Or a Werewolf Plus. It's like a high rank material. And so those are the random drops. Because when you kill, let's say, a high ranking monster, you can get like the Werewolf Plus, the Werewolf Plus Plus, or the very, very rare Werewolf Plus Plus Plus. That's like the pallium in the game. It's all you need to do is obtain it once. It's not a consumable. And when you get it, you unlock the ability then to use that next sigil. And then you've got like, well, I kind of want Spear level 3. So then you go and you hunt for those monsters, and it becomes an endless loop of you maxing out all these sigils on your arm. And we're talking stuff like it's like an armor system in Monster Hunter, right? Like there's like negate poison spells, and you can get attack bonuses and stuff like that. And then you have specific ones that synergize off of each other. That when you use them, they give you an additional bonus. So if I have like 2 spells that give me lance attack power up, and then I have 1 sigil on top of my arm, which is a Sanctuary sigil, which raises my defense, they'll synergize and I'll get an additional 80% lance damage on top of that. So I'll have something like 300% damage increase for lance or spear. So I'll have a spear build. And it's such an incredibly addicting system because there's so many. And if the cool thing is when you kill somebody, you get, I don't know the English name, but when you save somebody, you get their I want to say their spirit, and when you sacrifice them, you get their soul.
Yeah, there's in English, it's basically LE and SE is what they call those, and I think that it's like it's the name of the creature, whatever, and then SE and LE, which I'm not sure what they mean, but I'm pretty sure that the LE is like the blue one, and the SE is the red one. So it's like if you sacrifice them, you get the red version. If you save them, you get the blue version.
Weird, yeah.
Yeah.
But what's really funny is like the game knows that it's grindy, right? And I'll say if you watch reviews of the game, which are fun to watch, they do most of them mention the grind, but there's ways to efficiently grind that I don't think a lot of people know. Like for example, if you know that if you're going to be going after, let's say the Iron Maiden or something, right? Or let's say the Centaur, what you can do is save it one time so you get the spirit, then kill it the next time and you get the soul, and it unlocks a new sigil for your arm called the Centaur Killer. And what it does is it decreases the damage you get from the monster and increases the damage that you do to it. And all you need is 1 soul and spirit from that monster to get it. And there's 1 for every single monster. And so there's like all these different, there's hundreds and hundreds, well over 1,000 probably, spells and sigils to collect in the game and level up and you can get better. So I'm still chasing right now after the blood level 6 and 7. And I need to get like 3 of this, 2 of that, 2, and I've got a little grocery list, like how I love my Monster Hunter, right? And they're random drops. And there are ways that you can, it's almost like a meal skill. There's a thing called rumors where you can, it's like a 1 or 2 time use thing where you can apply an effect on a hunt. Like you get it.
It's like food buffs basically.
Yeah. Higher drop rates for plus instead of pluses and stuff like that. So there's that whole system, right? But the genius thing that they do in this game is I already went over. There's like hundreds of quests that you can do, right? But they have a system called blank pages, and this is genius. So you can spend a currency that because every time you do a quest in the game, you can wipe tears away from the book, and it's almost like Chimera points, right? You get like a currency that you can use for restoring stuff or changing your levels and unlocking stuff. But it's a blank page where you can use surplus of spells that you don't need anymore. Maybe you want to give them to NPCs to raise their level, or maybe you just don't want them anymore because you got better versions. You can use those and give them, you have to give 5 of them, and you get a random page of quests. So you could choose from like easy, normal, or hard, or very hard. Or I think it's normal, hard, very hard. And so let's say we do a normal one, right? So when I choose normal quest, blank page, the book will say, okay, well, it'll auto save your game. It's like, okay, it's like the Elder Melder, right? Like, give me 5 bronze spells. And depending on the elements of the spells you give, it actually changes the outcomes that it could be. It's actually really nice because if you're aiming for, let's say, like a low rank Centaur, you can do that if you know what its element is. But then you give them the 5 offerings, and he spins around really cute, and you get an animation, then you get a blank page. And the blank page has 4 quests that are all blurred out. You can't see them at all. And I love this. This reminds me of like when we were talking to, maybe it was Josh, and I can't remember who it was, but it was like the psychological element of gambling. It's like a lottery card or something that you scratch off. So all it does is it tells you on the bottom right, this is the reward you can get. And it's almost always like, some of them are like really useful items, but most of the time it's a visual thing. It's an outfit. It's an accessory for your sorceress or sorcerer. And it's a cool, nice treat that you want.
It's a cosmetic
I had, like,
unlock.
the cat ears.
Yeah.
So like I had cat ears color A or B or something. It was like black cat ears. I'm like, oh, I want the cat ears, right? And it was a normal one. So the thing is, they have 3 quests on the left, and then the 4th one above. And the 3rd one is you have to spend some currency. It's not a big deal. Like, I think they just did it because it's fun. But you spend some currency and use your finger to wipe away the blood. And you actually see the name of the quest and the monster before you actually commit to rubbing the whole thing off. You'd be like, oh, no, okay, I don't want that. But you basically scratch away and find out, okay, who do I have to kill to get, or save, to get this cat ears? And so then you reveal the three hunts, and they're randomized, right? So sometimes, like, there's some bosses that only ever appeared in high rank, that there's a low rank version of them in the blank pages if you
I
generate
need one
quests,
of those,
which is awesome. And then so you have these 3 quests. So you find, like, when you go to really hard, you get stuff like the final boss of the game pops up, like all sorts of different fun stuff when you choose really difficult quests. And so you get all these things, and then you do those 3. Then it unlocks the final quest, which thank goodness is not like harder than the other ones. It's just random as well. And when you complete it, you get the item. And the cool thing is that you don't lose the blank page afterwards. It persists. So if you have friends,
and if you need to farm stuff,
yeah, you can, like, I need to farm a high rank werewolf, and this is just a map I really like, and this is the perfect place for it. So instead, or you'll keep it and you can use it to farm, or you can share it online with your friends so that they can get the item as well, or you can just get rid of the page and generate a new one. And it's a way to give the game almost like endless amount of content. It's really nice.
And
it's super smart.
You can only have 3 blank pages at any time, so that's why, eventually you will have to sacrifice those pages if you want to get new ones. So it's like, hey, there's this page that got a monster that I really like, I need to farm it, whatever. You can keep that one. But then, if eventually you want to get more, you might eventually have to sacrifice some of those pages.
I don't know if it's paid only, but I paid the money. I actually paid to unlock all the other blank pages. What
do you mean?
I don't think you... I think you could do it without paying. I think it's a currency. I think you can use tiers to do it, but I said screw it, and there was a DLC item for it, so I just bought it.
Oh no!
I was so excited because it's blood, so you can do it without paying, but you can actually unlock more blank page slots. I'm looking now. You get 3 for free, and then you can additionally unlock 5 more blank pages.
Oh, okay.
Either through, I think you do it through the tiers, but if you don't want to use the tiers, you could just pay to unlock
Dude,
it
how many?
For a few bucks.
You probably have like a million tiers, like prestiging the game 3 times, and you're like, well, I don't know about these tiers. You kidding me? Like,
Well, how many tiers do I have? Hang on, let me find out.
You probably
I don't
have like
that many.
Go to the book right now. You probably haven't scraped them. You probably haven't.
I've got 13,000 tiers.
Only you prestige the game a million times. You only have 13,000
because
tiers.
I was using those tiers recently for a bunch of stuff. that and I do a lot of blank page quests, so I use tiers a lot.
Okay.
But it's a fun system.
It is.
For coming up.
And
but even 3 would be fine, honestly.
I don't
think
even,
you need that many.
I didn't even do blank pages until I heard you talk about them, and I was like, okay, I guess I got to check out what these are so that I at least know what's going on. Because before that, I just hadn't done them at all. And then I was like, okay, now I get how these work. Fine.
I threw it away because I didn't know, but there is actually the possibility of getting a gold-colored quest. It's super rare. And I only got it once, and I didn't realize it was just like a stupid quest, and I was just like, whatever. And I threw it away. But if it's gold lettering, it means that it has a higher chance of like those like metal slimes appearing. They're like slugs in this game, but they pretty much work like metal slimes. They're just like huge EXP buffs. But there's a higher chance for them to naturally appear in those maps if it's gold lettered. So it's worth hanging on to. But the cool thing is when you sacrifice all your 100 levels to get a mastery sigil, which again, the mastery sigils is a plus 110% to whatever weapon it is. And then there's ones for healing and stuff like that. You can only ever equip one at a time. So it's a way to give yourself like the real specialized build for like some of the harder hunts. When you do that, the game gives you as a gift like 2 rumors that will give you EXP like XL. So like you can get back up to like level 50, 60 within like 1 or 2 hunts. It's like immediate. It's super easy. Because you have all the good spells, you can survive. So you just go into like a level 15 like maximum difficulty collection quest. Go in there and kill one. God, if it's a slug, I can't imagine. But you can just kill a regular enemy. It's like, oh, suck it up for 1100 EXP, and bzing, you're like level 30. And you're like, okay. So it's the game's very kind when it comes to that. You can I'm not going to do this. I'm saying that now, and we'll see where this leads me. But I don't know why you would need to, because I've killed the final boss. Like I've killed the hardest boss in the game apparently, and I know I can handle it just fine. But there's a way if you really just if you just want to go crazy on the game, you can actually master a mastery item. So let's say I spent 100 levels to get the Lance Master Sigil, right? Which is 110% damage increase for lances. I'm just going to call it lance. I'm sorry. It's a spear, but...
Sure.
If I go and I get another 100 levels and I sacrifice those again for the same lance one, it adds 5% to it, and you can do that up to 10 times. So you can get it up to plus 200% just for the heart sigil. I don't know why you would need to, but if you really love one playstyle, you just need stuff, because you end up earning levels really easily at the end of the game, right?
You don't know why.
And so, like,
I'm gonna do that.
If you're just sitting there, if you're just sitting there at level 100, you may as well sacrifice them for a heart sigil and then just get right back up there. Is how I view it. But it's a cool system. You can only have one at a time, but it's a very fun idea. The game is very self-aware about giving people lots of things to do, but I think that covers like the base structure of the game. I know we've been talking about that for a while, but there's that much to do. But I cannot underscore how amazing. Oh, and the soundtrack. Come on.
The soundtrack.
This is my. So did you know like the main composer for this was the composer of the soundtrack from Chrono Trigger? Like he's a super famous composer. It is an amazing sound. Now, this is something that I would compare to Nier.
Yes.
I think that it's a fair one because they have vocals in different languages. I don't know if it's French or there may be some German ones as well, but they have some vocal tracks. They're very atmospheric. They really have a lot of emotion. I would call them artistic.
Dude,
tone setting, just beautiful soundtrack.
It just highlights how incredibly criminal it is that we haven't seen anything else from this game. It's like, hey, here's Soul Sacrifice Delta. We've made like one of the best games ever made, and it's on this dead console. Here you go.
And the IP is owned by Sony, which pisses me off because they only care about multi-million selling games right now. if they could just give this IP to somebody else and they can do something with it. Oh my gosh.
Oh man.
This game, I mean, it is literally, to me, it is as good as Dragon's Dogma is, which is to say it's one of my favorite games I've ever played.
I feel like I'm just spreading misery now at this point. I'm just like spreading misery to everybody.
I did a tweet on this the other day, but like you talking about the game got me thinking. Then one of your kind viewers, Kedron, I think, gifted the money for the game.
Yes.
And said, no, dude, you have to play it. So it guilted me into trying it, and I was reluctant because I'm an idiot. And then I try it, and now I spent $20 to get a new charger for my Vita because I wanted the best charger out there. I spent $30 for the digital guidebook because I wanted to have the list to read through. I spent the other day $30 for a physical copy of the game just because I love it, and I don't want it to disappear one day. If they ever take down the Vita store, I want the ability to play it, so I bought a physical copy.
Is that region locked?
On auction? I don't think so. No.
So like, would I be able to play? Would I be able to play the English version off of one of those copies?
No. Yeah, that's the problem. Is the Japanese version only has. You can buy as DLC for $2 the English voices, but you can't get English menus, which sucks.
That's
so I don't know any of the terminology in English, which is my biggest mistake. Is I bought it in Japanese, and so like if I do videos on it, no one's gonna be able to read it. It's like, damn it. I ordered the art booklet that came with the
dude. The art of that game is so good.
Good,
dude. And the worst part, I had the box art for the original one, and in the West it's different.
No.
Yes. Yeah, they did. They butchered it, dude. They butchered it. So like in the West, it's like it's a black background with just like your character, you know, with the basic thing, just like the basic ass. Listen, it is basic ass Western book art. Okay, whatever, cover art, just like the most basic ass Western ass, and then, but listen. They knew what they had.
Oh no! What is this? Are they just trying to like make it look like Dark Souls?
Yeah. Listen. They knew what they had, so you could pull the cover out, flip it over, and you had the Japanese. And that's like I did that instantly. Like I picked up my box and I'm like, what the hell is this? Flip that around. Perfect. Much better.
Fair enough.
Much better. I fixed it. It's like it has beautiful. Gorgeous art, and they're just like, no, let's make it the most Western ass, basic Western ass piece of trash. And here, I mean, it's not a piece of trash because your character looks cool, right? Like it still looks like a cool cover. The reason I say it's trash because like you compare that to the beautiful art that they had on it, and it's trash. Like I'm sorry.
Yeah. So when the game came out here, they had a pre-order bonus, which was a 60-page art booklet.
Oh my god!
And so I found someone who was selling an unopened version of that, so I just bought that last night. $130 for a very high quality figurine of Red Riding Hood. She looks great, so I'm looking for that. I spent $270 to buy a Vita TV again, even though I sold mine for peanuts because at the time they weren't worth anything. But then they stopped manufacturing it, and people realized. There is a massive library of games here.
Yes,
this is going to be this is in high demand. So everyone's now charging like $300-400 for it. It's crazy, but you don't need to play this on the TV. I actually play it mostly on the Vita itself.
Yeah.
So I'm fine with that. And I bought an HDMI splitter, like you told me, that removes the HDCP, which is
that's
great.
Illegal. We can't talk about that. I'm joking. I don't care. No, listen. I didn't
know that's what it does. I just thought it was a splitter.
No, but listen, it's like I've gone on so many tirades where I said, listen, if you're the guy who invented HDCP, I wouldn't piss on your house if it was on fire, okay? Like, I hate that person. Whoever came up with the concept of HDCP is one of the people I hate the most in the entire world, because that is the reason why HDMI is so incredibly unreliable, is because HDCP screws up the HDMI handshake between different devices, and that has been the cause of me having so many problems with creating content, it's actually insane. It's friggin' crazy.
So, in my last bit to show you guys just how much wonderful content there is in this game, I actually did count how many offerings there are. So there are 37 categories of types of spells that you can have. When I say category, I mean something like there's bombs, there's summons, there's spears, there's axes, stuff like that. There's 37 major categories. There's, when you take out all the rarity, there's 110 absolutely unique spells that you can get in the game. Remember, you can have 6, so the amount of combinations is pretty crazy. Yeah. And the different rarities all have different purposes. Again, like the blacks are not necessarily the best. Sometimes the gold ones are great. Bronze and silver, though, are dispensable later on. You just use them for blank pages. Overall, there's 989 offerings, and I'm going to get every single one. I'm going to fill out
989?
Yeah.
Damn.
I'm going to get them all.
It's like all a Pokemon game. You're getting all the offerings.
So as far as the sigils that you can get to buff up your arm and all your character, like your armor skills, there is, let's see, 156 for the top part of the arm, plus 99, 35, 82. So there's 372 different armor skills that you can have. And then there's...
Wait. Is that different armor skills? Is that is it like spear 1, spear 2, spear 6?
No, yeah, I didn't count unique ones. I'm sure the unique ones is less than that.
Okay.
There's 38 different heart skills, which are the ones that you sacrifice 100 levels to get. And those can all be leveled up 10 times as well.
Jesus.
In the game, when you meet a boss and you kill it, and he becomes an NPC at the end and begs for his life, and you choose whether to kill or save him, if you save him, he becomes an NPC that you can then put on your team.
Yes.
Which is hilarious. And then you can level up those NPCs and they get better spells. And they all become very usable and very good. Because
it's to give you variety,
really
because
good.
Not everybody wants to have like the main characters follow them around, right? They're I actually like this person who looks like he's crazy. And they have like different voices and stuff as well, so like they'll say different things with different enunciations. Like I said, there's some of them will just flat out sound like let's go kill them. And then there's
those voices are and most of those voices are obtainable as bonuses in blank pages. You can earn those voices because the voices are very small. They're not talking all the time.
Yeah.
So they're limited in scope in the fact that they will allow you to earn those voices for your character so that you can customize them later and you can become like the sister or brother of like this guy. It's hilarious. There's 120 NPCs in this game that you can earn.
Which you can kill or save.
Or save. Which is just fun. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff to this game, and I counted 61 monsters, large monsters.
I feel like that's short. Are you sure that's all of them? I feel like there's more.
I think so, because they split them up by different themes, right? There's arrogance, which is the Hydra, Valkyrie, Troll, Beelzebub, and the musicians.
Oh, right. You're going for those. Then,
yeah.
If you go just for those, I don't think they have like the crossover monsters.
Oh no, I included these ones as well. So like jealousy is Cyclops, Leviathan, Cinderella, and Succubus. It's so funny saying Cinderella.
I guess
like your idea of what Cinderella is so different from what she.
Oh yeah, like let me tell you
Cinderella's
about
she's
Snow
like a
White.
Millipede or something.
Let me tell you about Snow White and the Seven Dwarves, dude. And you know that there's a spell to summon the Seven Dwarves. I've made a build around that. It's hilarious because you can summon them a bunch of times.
The NPC that's Snow White, if you save that sorceress and bring her on as an NPC, she has that spell and she'll do it. It's wonderful.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Let's see. Desire, we got Griffin. It's just so funny because when I say these names, people will get an idea in their head of what it might
it has
look like.
Nothing to do with
nothing.
Yeah.
So like Troll, I think, was it like we'll give some examples later. There's Slimes, Pegasus, Wyverns, Ouroboros, Leprechaun, Chimera, Gigas. For Fury, there's the Kraken, Cerberus, Minotaur, Basilisk, Snow White, the Pied Piper. for...
I need a low-rank Pied Piper.
So Lust, there's the Elven Queen, Siren, Iron Maiden, Dullahan, Incubus, the Naked Emperor, Frog Prince, Tortoise in the Hare. And when I say Tortoise in the Hare, it's like S&M. Like, it's a guy on a weird mechanical frog with a bondage tongue of a lady sticked out with a gag, like, apple in her mouth. And there's the opposite version of it where the woman is the rider and the guy is the slave. It's really dark. It's some crazy stuff.
It is.
For Sloth, there's Gargoyle, the Centaur, and Kate Sith. Hunger is the Harpies, Behemoth, Ogre, Dwarves, Hansel and Gretel, which are just grotesque as hell. The Three Little Pigs.
Three Little Pigs is literally so good.
I like the story behind the Three Little Pigs. It's actually really, it's an interesting story.
All
then
of
Greed,
those
you got the
stories
the Jack-o'-lantern, Phoenix, Unicorn, Jack Frost, Wraith, Lizardman, Bahamut, Red Riding Hood, Alice. Then for other ones, there was like Werewolf, Odin, Illisebra is her English name. We call her Morgan Le Fay. Morgan Le Fay is her name in Japanese, but in English she's called Illisebra. She's an NPC. Tyrwin, Dragons, Romulus. I won't talk about the last bosses. For DLC, I said there's Marduk, Dionea, and the Chthonian Fiend and Abyssal Fiend. But yeah, there's so much to do in this game. It's crazy. The names are so different though. Like the NPC names are really weird. Like I wrote down 3 of them. Like Merlin in Japanese, for English it's Magusar. Magusar, okay.
Magusar.
Then there's Morgan Le Fay, which is Illisebra in English.
Illisebra.
Then there's Nimue, which is Sortiara.
Sortiara?
Yeah, is Nimue in Japanese.
Oh my god, dude. You know that literally all of those names in Japanese are basically from, the King Arthur, like Nimue, Merlin, all of these things. They're from King Arthur tales. Like, why not just literally translate them over? It's so dumb.
But like you were talking about, like you got to put a link or people just search Google, just put in like Rurikhan Soul Sacrifice Snow White
on YouTube. You can just type Rurikhan.
Like you have a fun series where you invited some other creators as well, and you guys voiced out and read out because the stories as you go through the game, right? Like the different NPC character stories and the main story are all fully voiced, which is great. But this game also has a lot of really good reading. Yeah. There's an encyclopedia of like spells, monsters, world building. Like they should just publish a book. I would buy it. It's really interesting stuff. But they have like 9 to 15
You want
pages.
Librum, but like a physical version of Librum?
Oh yeah, I do. Yuna loves coming up to me when I'm on the menu when I'm talking to the book, and she just taps the behind on my Vita because it knocks him over.
Yeah.
I'm like, stop knocking him over, because she likes to hear him yell at me in Japanese.
And then he's mad. Stop doing that.
Stop it! I can't breathe when you put me down like that. It's like, but you had a series where you narrated the stories.
That was a very short really series. Fun. I think I only did like 3 or 4 of them because it was very hard. You did Snow White, and that was a. Yeah, it was very hard to convince other creators to like, hey, I need you to just read these pages.
Super niche ass game.
And they'd be like, why would I want to do that? And I was like, because it'll be cool.
I almost want to pick up the torch where you left off, but I don't have the English for all the stories, so it's like, fuck.
I think that there was actually someone who was in my Discord like a couple of years ago, and they said that they were doing something where they were going to print Librom. So they asked me for a couple of pages. I don't know why they were missing like a couple of specific pages. And I remember taking the screenshots and giving them to them. But they had a plan where they were going to just like basically print Librom. And I was like, hey man, good luck.
Yeah, you can't sell it. It's illegal, but you can certainly make it.
Yeah.
But it's just, I love the stories behind the monsters. So what me and Yuna are doing is we're reading one of them a night.
Oh,
we read Snow White.
That's good bedtime reading for sure.
It is,
especially for you with a 12-year-old, dude. What the hell?
I'm such a model father. She was walking.
Yeah.
She was watching Walking Dead at 3. She knows how to headshot zombies at 4.
Yeah.
She's watched Freddy Krueger at 5, and
let me just
I'm reading
read you
her
this grotesque story over here, and let's just do this before bed. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, so I was reading her Snow White the other day. She really liked that one because
I don't remember most of them, but yeah, I mean, I remember
the poor girl.
I remember Pied Piper because when I was streaming this on Twitch not so long ago because I was testing out the streaming setup, and I was like, this is just to give you guys an idea of what it's like, and I read Pied Piper. And it's like, people are like, what? Just
Whoa.
Like, yeah, there's one of those for every single monster in the game.
Yeah, because like Snow White in the game, when you see her, she's basically a walking mirror. She's got a big mirror. She's got no eyeballs. She's screaming. Like, her scream is just really blood curdling. Like, it's really... Like, I feel really bad for the character. She's like, ah! Throughout the entire battle, screaming and running around. And underneath her is like the 7 dwarves with mirrors, and they're like moving her around, and sometimes they scatter.
And the cool thing about that character too is like if you shoot her with spells from the front, they'll bounce back at you if I remember correctly. So like, because it's a mirror and it bounces back.
Then when you get to the second half of the battle, you can actually see the queen's reflection in the mirror, and it's just this really mean old woman. But it's like a really sad story where like the queen was like looked at her daughter like a tool, right? She was gonna kill her, because she wanted to be the most beautiful person in the land. But the thing is that the reflection that she saw in her daughter's eyes of herself was so appeasing to her that she didn't want to kill her, so she pretty much locked her in her room and kept her as a slave. And she just wanted to be a good daughter, and so she didn't realize at the time, but she was projecting the image of how she knew her mother wanted to be seen in her eyes. So she probably had some weird magical ability, and so she kept her around as basically her hand mirror. And then the problem is that she became a mirror. So the queen cast black magic on her to turn her into a mirror so that she can look at her and see her own beauty. The daughter doesn't even know that she's been transformed into a mirror. So for years she's locked in the basement, comes up and shows her mother what she wants to see pretty much without knowing it. And then one day she gets, I can't remember what happened, but she sees, she couldn't see herself. So she sacrificed, she only had one more eye, I think. So the chalice came to her like the devil, hey, tell me what you desire, and says, hey, if you give me something of equal value, I'll show you, I'll let you see again or something. And so she sacrificed her last eye to get a glimpse, and then she saw that she had become a monster. And it was just, just a tragic tale. It's really sad.
All of them are kind of like
all of them. The one that wasn't sad though was Kate Sith. Actually, was actually kind of a cute story. It was about a prince who didn't want to become a king, and he envied his. Oh, it is kind of sad actually. He was visited by an alley cat, and he fell in love with the alley cat. It was like his best friend. And as a prince, you don't have friends, right? You don't get to meet people. So like he envied the cat, and he loved the cat because of how free it was to come and go as it pleased. And so the night after his father died and they were going to crown him king, and he didn't want that, he wanted his freedom, the chalice appears to him and asks him if he wants his freedom, he can have it if he sacrifices his best friend, the cat.
And he
sacrifices his cat to get his freedom. What he doesn't realize is that he got turned into a cat. And he was turned into a cat ghost and, never seen again, right? So it's like, it reminds me of those like 80s, 90s horror movies, like be careful what you wish for, you just might get it.
There's tons and tons and tons of that. It's so good. Like that.
You get like, was it like Pegasus is like a flying pig? It's they turn everything on their head. So like everything you think you know about these characters, you don't know them. They're very
the thing about the Pied Piper, for instance, was how he was basically like this kid who was bullied and whatnot, and rats were his only friend. And then eventually, one of the other kids from the village disappeared, and so everybody thought that he had done it, and so they kill all of his rat friends. He's like, no, all of my friends.
No.
And so he then, at the end of the day, the guy still didn't want revenge on anyone, despite the fact that they killed all of his friends because they thought he kidnapped this kid. And so what he wanted was the power to be able to find the kid. And so the chalice gave him, do you want the power to find this kid? And he said, yes, transform me into a rat so that I can go find. He actually asked the chalice to become like Rat Man so that he could go find this kid. And then he goes and he finds the kid. And then it turns out that the kid had actually done something terrible. Like I think one other kid killed him. And so he knew that this other kid was going to be blamed and bullied for the rest of his life. So he screamed to everyone that he was the one who actually did it. And he took the blame for this other kid so that this other kid wouldn't suffer. So like he sacrifices everything to save a kid. Turns out that kid was killed by another one. Then he sacrifices everything again to save the other kid.
And then you, as a sorcerer, when you kill it because it's gone mad, has to decide as it begs for its life, do I sacrifice him or do I put him out of his misery?
Yep. I leave it up to fate.
Not an easy choice.
Yeah, it's pretty easy. It's not my fault. It's like, hey, what happens, happens.
The way I look at it is if you go onto an airplane and they say chicken or fish, and you say either is okay.
No.
You decide.
No.
It's not saying that I didn't choose them. It's saying I choose both. And then you decide which one of those two I'm going to get. But I give... It's like voting, right? It's like
I'm not eating. No, listen. On the plane, I'm not eating fish on a plane, dude. That's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah,
fish on the plane.
That's pretty sus.
That's not gonna work out. I'll take the chicken. But yeah,
I am absolutely enthralled with this game. I adore it.
At the end of the day,
I would go as far as say that it's worth buying a Vita if you can get it cheap just for this game. And if you have a Vita, just lying in dust like I did. I had my Vita for years in my shelf doing nothing because I bought it when I was waiting for like Monster Hunter 4 or something. And I bought it so I can go play Monster Hunter Portable 3rd because it was available on Vita and you had like 2 analog sticks. And I never touched it again because Sony didn't care about the system and there was, it became a visual novel system here.
There are so many.
And I was just falling in love with Monster Hunter during this time. So it was the worst period. So I don't think I would have appreciated it back then anyways if I played it when it came out. So I'm happy that I found it now. But even 7.5 years later, it ages well. It's such a good game.
It's
great
a fantastic game. And the worst part about it is that, there's going to be people that hopefully through seeing this podcast, because like we've already seen from our interactions on Twitter, there's been at least, I think, 2 or 3 people that I've seen like, oh, I picked it up. I picked up the game. You guys were talking so much about it. And it's like, I'm happy that people are discovering it because at the end of the day, that's always been what it's been about for me. It's like, hey, I want to bring people into Dark Souls. They can check this out because this is really cool. And a lot of them are going like, you don't understand. This game is so hard. And it's like, no, it's not. It's fine. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
And so
this game brings me joy, and I want to spread that.
Yeah,
joy.
exactly. That's always the thing for me. So I'm happy more people are checking it out, but it's still extremely bittersweet because.
Because it's not going to get a re-release because Sony just
never gonna
won't care about it.
It's like
it's never going to happen.
It's very sad, but it's like there's this genius IP that, like, if you really think about it, 90% of the gaming community has no idea what Soul Sacrifice is, and it's
let alone even Delta and
and it's so incredibly sad because it's got so much content. It's a brilliant game. And nothing's ever going to happen from this. And it's almost like every time there's even a little nugget, it's almost like a torture. Because I think at one point, like on the official Soul Sacrifice channel on YouTube, whatever, they released or they made public like a little anime thing from Soul Sacrifice.
Yeah.
And it's like, I was like, I make a video like, we're gonna get it. And there's nothing.
Yeah.
It's like like, why would you even do that? Don't even talk about it then. Jesus. You just like randomly release a goddamn anime for no reason. Like, no, don't do that. It's so painful.
What kills me is that Sony was already thinking and wanting to shut down the Vita store, right? And they didn't release Soul Sacrifice Delta physically in the West. They did in Hong Kong, though. There was an English version, so you might actually be able to pick up a physical version of the English from Hong Kong. I believe I read online that they had an English version. But the thing is, like, once they kill that, this game is
gone.
Absolutely dead. It's gone forever.
Yeah.
And that's wrong, because this game is so good, and it's just like, oh.
And then they'll
it's so frustrating because.
And then if there's like a
Dragon's Dogma, I love as well, but at least
if there's like a ROM of it or something, Sony will probably be like, well, no, guys got to shut that down. It's like, come on, dude. Game preservation is something that is not taken remotely as seriously as it should.
I agree. There's just, oh man. And then I was just looking at the Delta website because I was going to do a video. Then I realized it's pointless because no one ever played Soul Sacrifice, so they don't know the difference.
Yeah.
But I was just like looking at the Japanese website, and they're listing out the changes from Soul Sacrifice 1 to Delta, and it's like, this is not just a G rank release. This is a remake. Like, the amount of things that they added is just, you can tell they really went into player feedback, and they're like, okay, we get a second chance at this. Let's make it even better, and let's add in tons of stuff. And it's just a huge list of over 100 different changes.
You can basically feel the passion on it. It's insane. And
apparently, NPCs only had 3 offerings, not 6, back in the original.
Yes,
that's crazy. Now they have 6, so like they really do act like other players now.
Not only they only had 3, but they were pretty useless. And in the original, the NPCs were not good.
Yeah, because now you can, as you level up your trust with them, they go all the way up to gold. Yeah, gold rarity spells.
And the original, I don't know if they even leveled up that much. I don't even remember if there was a level up system in the original. What I remember,
you couldn't give them offerings apparently.
Yeah, what I remember from the original was like I played with them for a little bit, and then when you got to like the harder quests, they would just die. You would just go up into a quest and like slap dead.
Apparently, I guess in the original, so I have a list here. I want to ask you about these and see if you remember them, because I'm looking at things that the original did that seemed like they were a little miss, and they fixed it in Delta. And I'm hoping that this segment will, one, give me some interesting insight into your first playthrough of the game, and second, convince anybody who's played the first game or dibbled in it a little bit and it's like, it wasn't for me. Maybe they were like, okay, if they fix that, I think maybe I can get into it. I'll try Delta. So they said, one, overall they improved the graphics engine. I don't know how different that is. I think that's questionable.
It's a Vita game. Like, even if there's that many differences, I could barely tell. I mean, I think one of the things that I did notice was performance was better. Performance was definitely better.
Yeah, so the improved animations for player characters, that everything happens so fast, maybe you didn't realize. The ability to remap buttons is apparently there and it wasn't there before.
I use the default ones. They're fine. So
yeah, I like the default. So I didn't realize this because I use this a lot, but apparently the in-game encyclopedia of all the spells has a reverse lookup function, right? Like if I say, okay, I need this healing item, I can press it and it will give me a list of all three or four quests that have it. And then I could just jump into the quest. Apparently, that was not in the original game.
I want to say it was. I want to say there was something.
These were all listed on the official website, so I'm assuming.
I want to say that there was something that let you know where.
Well, maybe it didn't let you jump into it.
It might have not let you jump into it, but it would tell you, like, hey, you can get this spell over here. I think that was a thing. Because I remember criticizing my friend that was trying to get me into Monster Hunter, and I remember that was one of the criticisms that I had for Monster Hunter was like, dude, I have to like go to like an external website to figure out where things drop. Like, see, why don't they do it like Soul Sacrifice where everything's in this book? It's way better. That's probably where they got the idea too.
True. So I can't imagine playing the original. There was no Grim.
No,
Sanctuary was by default harder because you couldn't restore your offerings.
Yep.
So that feels like a huge structural change to the game.
I mean, why couldn't you? You could, and then you de-level. Apparently, you restore them through sacrifice, and then you de-level.
Oh yeah, but you still had to sacrifice in order to restore your spells.
Yeah. But then you would de-level, and then you'd keep leveling up. It'd be fine. It's just you feel dirty. You're like, oh no, I'm sacrificing something. Come on. You'd sacrifice, and then you'd de-level. Then you'd de-level the red to keep raising blue. It'd be fine.
Like, I'm sacrificing stuff now, and I think it's okay because I'm doing it for completion reasons.
Yeah.
But my original playthrough, I think I had like 2 kills. That was it. Like, I'm looking at my kill count right now. I've got 1,628 saves and only 163 kills. So yeah, it's 10-1 for me. But that'll go up as I collect all the other spells. So obviously you're a big fan of Grim, right?
Yes.
What are like Sanctuary has like the blitz ones where you fly into an enemy and you hit them, and it also has the spears, and it also has the blood spells where you use your blood to either spray like it's like a blaster, or you use it to have like claws or a sword, and it's just unlimited, but you lose health as you use it. What are the 3 like major archetypes of Grim?
It's like I don't know all of the spells by head. I'll tell you the things that I liked about the faction. So with Grim is, how I told you that I liked that thing where I would do the Infernal Hell or whatever. It's like Grim has stuff that improves the potency of like the elementals, that basically it increases my chances of proccing that. So like if you could get Burn Amp, or you could get Freeze Amp,
good at exploiting weaknesses. Then.
Yeah, exactly. So there's that. The other thing that they have is weapons. They're very good at weapons, and they also have Throne and Summons.
Summons, okay.
So
the summons are interesting because I love like they have
the summons, though it's not like damage. Their specific thing about summons is extending how long summons stay. At least that's what I can remember from Grim.
Yeah, there's 2 types of summons, and I haven't done the other one yet. I want to try it out later today. But one is like there's like the golems, and it's funny because they have physics. So like if you can get a boss into a corner,
yeah, they're like
because they're really aggressive, and then you summon a huge fire golem in front of them, they can't escape, and the golem is just pounding them to death. It's hilarious. Yeah, and the other one is apparently you have to have your other teammates. They'll rush to you and help you, and the 3 of you will all conjure it together.
A big golem. I don't know how that will work with the NPCs. I don't know if they're very cooperative with that stuff.
I imagine they come straight to your aid, because whenever I do anything, they come straight away to me. Like, it's priority number 1.
I don't know. But they're
more loyal than humans would be. Where it'd be like, I ain't going over there. I'm over here. I'm breaking something. Screw you, man.
With Avalon, I remember that one of their things was explosives, which is one of the reasons why I also really like Avalon, right? It's explosives. Then they're good with the fist weapons.
The fist.
And I forget what, and damage. Like one of their things is just damage. They're just like, here's more damage to everything. They have that. So like, for instance, Grim will have something where it'd be like plus 300 health, and if you're Grim, plus 150 more or something like that. With Avalon, it'd be like plus 20% damage, and if you're Avalon, plus 10. It's like, it's like, here's more damage.
What I'm really interested now is that I just discovered 2 days ago that there is a new line of sigils for Sanctuary called the fake Sanctuary sigils. So you have like the regular Sanctuary, which is the top one, which is like insane defense increase.
Yeah.
We're talking like plus 40, plus 80, plus 60, plus 70. I think I have almost 1,000 defense right now, where I think your character had like 100.
It was not
crazy
much.
Different. It's a lot. I could just sit there and like eat a sandwich and not die.
Yeah.
But then on that same tier, I got a level 1. I have to assume there's a level 2 and 3 and 4, 5, 6, 7. And it's called the fake Sanctuary. and so it's apparently like someone posing as a sanctuary, but so it counts as a sanctuary sigil, but instead of increasing your attack defense, it increases your attack.
Cheating.
I'm like, ooh,
that's cheating.
I can be like a.
No, you can't do that. It's fake.
Nice.
It's fake. You can't do it. You're supposed to be the true sanctuary. I remember still like one of the things that we haven't even talked about because it's probably not active anymore that much anyway, was how back in the day, like every time that you would do a quest, you would earn a certain amount of points. And then you would go online and you would have those points contribute towards your faction. And it would like show up with tendrils, which one was the most dominating faction and whatnot. And that would give you like buffs and stuff as well. And you'd get titles. And
they still have it. And I still contribute towards Sanctuary. And I got some buffs. I got some extra titles and stuff for my characters. So that was nice. But
I have...
We are number 2. We are not number 1.
Avalon is in the dirt over there.
Let me find out. Hang on a second.
Because
check it out.
I think I have a title that you could only get on Grim if you contribute like a certain amount of points or whatever. I have a Word Seeker, whatever it is. I think that was a pretty beastly title.
How much do you think you contributed? So I got my high level rank for Sanctuary title. I got for contributing 4,000 points.
I think I'm pretty close to that. Like you're kind of making me want to go and check, but that would involve a lot of me just like getting up and taking apart HMIs and whatnot. We're not doing that during the podcast.
No. I'm trying to figure out where that was. Oh, it was in the shop page that you go and you check.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know how the Western version works, but the game when you buy it now still comes with the online play ticket included already.
Yeah.
So I don't have PlayStation Plus or anything, so I could still get the internet functions here, and I'm fine.
Yeah, you don't need PlayStation Plus for Vita. That's probably why they're trying to close down that store. They're like, no, you guys aren't paying PlayStation Plus. Screw that. Using our servers for free.
I did quick play and I realized I was able to get into a room, and that's when I realized there are still just very few people that are very high level who are still just playing this game and loving it, which I think is great.
Because the game is just that good. That's the thing. It's just a damn shame. How bad are we getting our asses kicked? I think Grim was just wiping the floor with everybody. The thing is that if you think about it, Grim is also, from an efficiency perspective, it's probably a really good choice because you get a good balance of defense and offense, and you don't even have to pick because, like, you know, if you go full Avalon, you're going to have no defense. You're like full glass cannon if you want to get like the maximum dark arm. And if you want to get the maximum light arm, you're going to have like almost no offense, and you have to offset that by using those Apple things that you're doing. Whereas with Grim, it's like, hey, I'm half and half, and I have access to everything.
Wow. So this week, because it's weekly, and you can get some rewards and stuff like that just from participating, by just submitting your numbers, so to say.
Yeah.
So right now, Avalon has the lead for this week.
Yeah, it's
interesting.
When there's
and
not
Sanctuary
that many people. There's not that many people. When there's not that many people contributing, it might just be one guy just like grinding the points,
going
the most
crazy. Yeah,
he's like, I'm gonna dominate this week. You'll see.
Yeah. So apparently, the original game did not give you generic rewards that were specific to your faction, which I find really bizarre.
Generic rewards that were specific. What do you mean generic rewards?
Like, for example, no matter what quest I do, it could be the most easiest quest in the world, like a treasure hunt quest or something stupid. I will always get a reward of that rank. For example, a spear. I will get a random ice spear, a thunder spear, something that has to deal with Sanctuary.
It was completely random. Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
I didn't even know that changed. I thought that was still the case.
No, it's very specific, because if you want to just triple star your stuff, just go grab a blank page, or get far enough in the game to generate a, not a red star, but like a high rank, like a level 8 or something, 8 or 9 treasure hunt. Because the treasure hunt, all you do is just use the vision and you look for the little orbs and you pick them up. You don't have to fight anything. just quick complete that, and boom, you'll get gold, whatever it is for your faction, over and over again. You can easily triple star them, just 1 hour of playing. Apparently, they completely redid the trophy system, so trophies didn't carry over, and everyone started over.
Yeah.
Obviously, the Endless Dungeon Alice was added. They added new moves for existing monsters. They added in a bunch of new monsters. Apparently, cursed parts were not a thing in the first game. So there's like breakable cursed parts in this game where they're a different color. And
there were also breakable parts in the first game.
Yeah, breakable parts, but there's also cursed parts as well.
I mean, the breakable parts...
Sometimes they don't.
Really? I always heard
they don't
cursed
overlap.
Parts. I think
so the main thing is you want to break all the cursed parts is the big reward.
Yeah.
But the breaking parts is more about getting more rewards.
I could swear that I remember the message cursed.
I still have not been able to do a counter to a boss. Have you?
Yes. Boss counters is like if you're able to interrupt like a boss attack with a strong enough spell.
Yeah.
The reason I've done them probably more than you is because you're doing spears and I was doing like mortars and flowers shooting projectiles and
Yeah, so apparently it seems like there was scaling for difficulty back in the day where you can play as one player and it'd be easier than with 3 players. And they fixed that so that it's always balanced to 3 now, because I think they just did an overhaul on the NPC system overall to make it just say, look, you're always going to be 3 people. They're going to be good.
It's probably because I was not aware that there was a scaling system, so I would just bring in the NPCs and they were useless. So I assume if a lot of players were doing what I was doing, it would actually make the game a lot harder for everybody.
Yeah. And now they're not useless. They're great. I love the NPCs.
Yeah.
Also, I don't know if you've gotten this far, but there's actually like a frenzy system in the game as well. There's the violent versions of monsters that you can randomly get a violent version, and they're like really hard. They're like super aggressive. They're really fun.
I don't remember getting that.
Obviously, lots of new types of spells, better hit detection, basic stuff you would expect. New combinations.
I don't remember the flower that I said being in the other one. The little
they added in a bunch of types. Also, like not every spell had like hold down the button to do something different, so they made that more of a universal mechanic apparently. It sounds like you weren't able to sacrifice your legs. It looks like that black rite was new.
Yeah, there's because that's a grim black rite. So each of the black rites is like associated with one of the houses, I think, and the legs one is grim.
Interesting. So quest structure, as you know from my late night phone call to you, they changed it completely. So like all the Wikipedias, they're like, go do this quest. I'm like, I don't have this quest.
Yeah, those are worthless.
Obviously, they added in more stories, so there's like the alternate ending, there's the true ending, and all that kind of stuff. And I won't say what the ending is, but the ending was super satisfying. Very good.
I believe you.
They added in what I call the G rank, which is the Delta. It's difficulty level stars 11 through 15, which are very rewarding and very fun. I guess not every boss had 2 unique offerings, like 2 things that you can get from them. Some of them only had 1. So some of them had none. 2.
Some of them didn't have like specific rewards that they would give you.
Now they all do, which is good. Blank page is new. The rumor system apparently was new. That wasn't in the first one either.
No, the whole shop was not. That thing where you have the NPCs. That was not the first one at all.
Damn. I guess the ability to redo paths in the main story, like if you killed somebody and it went down one way, and if you saved them, it was a slightly different story. Apparently, you weren't able to redo them in the first game, but you can in Delta.
Yeah, that might have been a thing for sure.
Yeah. Grim. Yeah. Weather effects and environmental destruction is all new. I love some of the ones where like you have this big ass slime gluttonous thing trying to eat everything, and it's like the floor breaks and everyone falls down.
There's some really good ones like that, where the arena kind of like changes. There's also the one where in that arena where you first meet Alice. I think that's the first time. Yeah. No, not Alice. Snow White. The heads there's like heads in that arena and they fall over when
Yeah,
you trigger the arena thing. Yeah. There's a lot of arenas that have variations like that, which is pretty cool.
So this is what I want to ask you about, because this read really weird to me, but apparently in the first game, top and bottom parts of outfits were not separate. It was like all or none. But in this game, you can mix and match them now, like the top of one outfit with the bottom of another. Because some of them are really cool looking, so that kills me to hear that you weren't able to do that before.
Nope, it was just like full on combination. I think you could still turn off the headpiece. I'm not sure. I think you could still turn off the headpiece, but bottom and it was one thing.
I don't know why they had to mention that they improved the female avatar design. Did the female characters look like males or something in the original game? Did they make them more saucy or something? I don't know, but they actually listed that on the website.
Improved female avatar.
Yeah, improved female avatar.
I mean, it's like the characters are not even that sexualized to begin with.
No, they're not. It's very Lovecraftian.
Maybe they gave
feel.
them a couple of more curves, and maybe they were like too stiff in the first one. I don't know. They made them curvier. Added curves to female.
Exactly. Or maybe their bust size increased. I don't know.
Probably. That not surprised me.
Yeah. But yeah, you're right though. They're not sexualized at all really in the game. I know it sounds like it could go down that route, but they didn't, which is nice. The whole idea of like reaching level 100 and sacrificing it for a special sigil didn't exist. So that must be a little boring. Like once you hit 100, that's it. You can't level up.
I never got that far. That's the thing.
So the only thing we didn't talk about was the sigils. There's one for the hand, which is like it's like a basic like freebie, like 5% defense, 5% attack, or 20 health.
Was that one not on the original?
Basically, what it is that slot apparently was not separate, and so now it's separate because it's not really part of your build. It's more about the visual design of your hand, so you can earn different designs of your hand based upon bosses and NPCs now, and that has its own dedicated slot, so you don't have to worry about sacrificing fashion for functionality.
Yeah, the resonance, the synergy of the things.
Apparently better UI for fusing offerings. I can't imagine if it was harder, because you do so much fusing in the game.
Yeah,
you just hit triangle and that's it, and you're done.
I don't think that was a big deal. Fusing of offerings was fine.
Let's see here. For NPCs, there's now over 200. Better AI. They will also do combination magic with you. They'll now have 6 offerings, not 3. They have the whole trust level system. You can now use offerings to level them up instead.
They're useful now. They could just now they're useful.
This is brutal, but apparently if you did an action that was against the faction of that NPC, like if it was a sanctuary girl and you killed somebody, they would flat out leave and you would never be able to use them again.
I remember them leaving. Yeah, I didn't know that you could never use them again. Brutal. But yeah, I've lost a couple of them. Yeah, I thought you'd be able to get them back, but yeah.
No, now you just get the trust level down and you just like give them.
And here's the thing, like I didn't know I'd be picking characters based on like, oh, I like the way this character looks, I'll bring them along with me. And then it's like, oh, I will save you, and I'm like, no, you won't. And then they'd be like, what the hell? What are you doing? They'd be all
apparently
pissed.
The spirit mode, when you died, you weren't able to attack before.
No.
And now if you grab an environmental weapon, you can attack, which is
you could
still
debuff. I think you could still debuff and buff your companions, but you couldn't.
You couldn't possess, and you couldn't use your own attacks. For online, apparently they improved texture. I wouldn't know because I don't play online, but they had like a bunch of customization options, new songs, new rumors. There's a testing room actually if you want to test out.
Yep.
Like a loadout. Apparently the goblin
you can change
used to hit back. But now you can make it so he doesn't hit back.
Oh, you can make it so that he doesn't. Yeah, but he still does hit back.
Yeah, but that pretty much covers all of it. So it sounds like they made a hell of an overhaul to the game.
Oh yeah.
And they added in a whole sequels word. So they said it's almost like what do they call it? Soul Sacrifice 1.9 is what they called it. They said it's not really a sequel because it still has a lot of the original content in it.
Yeah. Here's the thing, like there's no proper description. It's a brand new game. essentially. It's a brand new game. You can't just call it 2 because the story is the same with added things, though. That's the thing.
Yes, but it sounds like it's a substantial.
Oh yeah, it was massive. It was massive. That's why whenever people would, because I remember back in the day, people would tell me, "Oh, I see Soul Sacrifice on discount," and I'd be like, "No, don't get that one. You need Delta." People be like, "Why?" That was the worst part. I actually had people that bought the original, and then they were telling me, "Oh, this doesn't work like you said," and I was like, "Yeah, because I said Delta." There's even someone that recently, also because those people that have been buying the game because we were talking about it. Someone said they bought it and it wouldn't work on the on the PlayStation TV. Said, "Oh, I bought this game, but it doesn't work on the PlayStation TV." And I'm like, "No, Delta works 100%.
It should, yeah.
I know it does." I actually still,
I don't know. Maybe they were running into HDCP issues. I don't know. But
I still think that the original did as well, but I'm not 100% sure if the original did or not. It might not because it has touch functionality. That's the problem. That's the thing that keeps them from doing PlayStation. Actually, no, I think the original does not work on PlayStation TV now that I think about it because of the touch functionality. It has a lot of touch stuff. Like you even said yourself, like just basic things. Like, for instance, the rubbing of the eye. You weren't able to do it by pressing a button on the original.
Oh, wow.
You had to actually touch it, if I remember correctly. But
you can press L2, R2 to simulate a touch.
You can do what?
Like, for example, for doing like a sacrifice, you can hold down L2 and R2 to simulate a touch. And it's the same as holding down on the screen.
L2 and R2? How the hell? Oh.
So, yeah, because it comes with a controller. If you hold down these, it'll simulate a touch. So if you want to sacrifice your spline or something, you can do that on the PlayStation TV even without touch.
But the thing was, I don't think they did that for the first one. They didn't put those things in place. Because like I remember something about the first one. There was something about the first one in the PlayStation TV, so it might have not worked. Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, sorry guys, but yeah, just make sure you get the Delta one. Blame Sony for that mess up. Hopefully you get a refund or something, but like, you got to go for Delta.
Delta, yeah.
And you don't. Honestly, I prefer it on the Vita more than I do the PlayStation TV, only for the fact that I like to play it in bed.
You know where I'd prefer really it? I'd prefer it on the Switch. That's where I'd prefer it.
Oh yeah. Oh my God, would it be good
on the Switch, dude?
Gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see any lag or anything on the PlayStation TV, which is nice.
No, it's fine.
I'm able to record. If you do try though to put it through like an Elgato or something, like we were saying, it does have the HDMI protection, so it will not work out of the box if you try it like that.
Yeah.
So you will have to do some internet sleuthing in order to get that to work. But honestly, I think it's such a good game that it's worth if you can afford it and it's whatever. Like if you can get a used Vita or if you have a Vita, I would check it out. I love the game to death, and to hear me promoting a game that is owned by Sony, I must really like it.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. Like I still can't believe that what we have right now is probably all that we're ever going to have of Soul Sacrifice, which is a shame because it's even if somebody eventually makes a game like Soul Sacrifice, it's not gonna be Soul Sacrifice, right? Because it has such rich lore and the music and just everything put together in that package. It's never gonna be the same. Like whatever they needed to make was they needed to make a Soul Sacrifice reboot in order for us to actually get what this franchise deserves.
Yeah, the only way I could see it happening is, again, looking at the credits, it seemed that while Inafune had the base idea for it, the one who created all the lore, the story, the writing, and everything was the creative and just also the technical director. He was like the lead man on everything. It was his brainchild. And he's now independent. So he's no longer at Concept. So if he wanted to try to do something like inspired by like a spiritual successor, I'm sure he could. But then again, after seeing the flop that was the Mighty Number 9, it makes you think, unless the guy's got a few million he wants to invest of his own money, Like, I don't know how they're going to go to another publisher and say, hey, we want to work with Marvelous again. We want to do this. They can't use the same engine, but we could do all this, and it'll be a different IP, and it's a tough sell.
Yeah, at that point, it's just like so far removed. It's just, again, the biggest problem of this game was that it died on the Vita, and it's sad.
Yeah. I just only pray it won't happen, that Sony realizes with the success of World and Iceborne that there is demand and appetite for the hunting genre.
Dude, they don't even know what the hunting genre is. They don't even know what Monster Hunter is. They speak in God of War and Uncharted and big open world games. That's what they care for.
Yeah.
There's very
Thank
little...
you for letting me ramble on about this, though. I'm so happy you introduced me to this game. It is literally the same as me finding... And it's kind of weird is that I didn't discover it. It was actually given to me by Sox, the community manager for Capcom. He gave me a code for Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen on the Switch and said, I think you'd like this. And I tried it. I was like, damn, and I was
so happy.
It's one of my favorite games of all time.
That's the thing, because like at the time, you and I barely interacted, maybe like one or two Twitter interactions, and I was just like, I was so happy that you were playing Dragon's Dogma. I was like, yes! I was like, yes, he's doing it. He's playing the game that I like so much. It's awesome. It just feels good, you know?
But now I feel just absolute love and delight over this game, and it's weird because I was trying to figure out, okay, how am I going to get back into the groove of making videos, because I love making videos.
And you want to make videos for this, but you can't.
Well, summer break was really tough because, my daughter was home all day, and I prioritized family time, which was the right thing to do. Now we're at a point that if I wanted to, I could start making summer videos. The problem is I am now desperately hooked on Soul Sacrifice.
Yeah, but and it's not just that. It's like, even if you were to start, right now making, I don't know, Rise videos or something like that, it's like the algorithm's going to punish you. You know how it is. It probably is already punishing you.
They already do. Yeah, they don't think I exist. So
yeah, exactly. It's like, it's almost like if you wanted to get back into the swing of things, like Capcom needs to release another Monster Hunter game.
They do.
Or some news from TGS, whatever. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't have any high hopes. I mean, it's Tokyo Game Show. I don't ever expect anything out of Tokyo Game Show. Hopefully they'll surprise me, but yeah, it's been an interesting few weeks. Just got a PlayStation 5 that towers over my Xbox Series X as some behemoth in the back of my room. And I will say I did pick up Demon's Souls, because I know eventually I will play it, because that was the one game I wanted to play.
Demon's Souls.
And we did pop it in, because after playing enough Astros, I was like, okay, I want to see what a next-gen only game looks like. So we put it on, and we're like, damn, this is beautiful. It's really pretty.
Bluepoint.
So Yuna was watching me. Yuna was having a really good time with me reading the messages left by other players. She really likes that.
Oh, dude, the scene in Japan has got to be insane for that game, too.
It's funny. So she had a kick seeing me. I could not get past the Guardian on the other end of the bridge, and then I finally beat him, and then I died in the next room.
The Guardian on the end of the bridge?
I got the first unlock. Like, there's a way to unlock a door at the very beginning to get up, like you up like a spiral staircase, and then you're on this upper part of the castle, and there's like a knight with a spear on the other end of a very narrow path, and you have to kill him. You have to
the red knight.
Yeah, and I killed him, but then I died in the next room. Was I supposed to go there?
Wait, you died in the next room? What next room?
Yeah, or the next enemy afterwards. I can't remember if I backtracked or what, but
you probably backtracked. Yeah. It's like, listen, that guy, you're not supposed to kill him at that point in the game.
Well, being able to throw fire at stuff can do a lot of good stuff.
Not that stopped me before, but yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
but
listen, I need to get some sleep.
I think we've talked long enough. You need to get some sleep.
Like, I could keep talking about Soul Sacrifice for ages.
I think we did a good job of going over everything. And I hope people find it interesting.
Here's what I have to say, guys. Here's what you got to do. Okay, you got to make this specific episode of the podcast be popular as hell. You got to smash the like button. You got to tell all your friends to come watch. Well, maybe not watch because they'll not want to watch, but you got to tell them to come here and hit the like button too. If they have YouTube
the most watched
Premium,
episode.
yeah. If they have like YouTube Premium, download it because that counts as like a full watch. But it's like what I'm saying is like we would need something that would be like a catalyst if there was to be like some kind of hope for soul sacrifice. Not that I believe that could ever happen, but
this episode, if you want to give me a Christmas present, or if you wanted to pay me back and say thank you for years of Monster videos or whatever, retweet and share this video. I love soul sacrifice that much right now that I want other people. It's the same as Dragon's Dogma. I want people to try it if they have the ability to. It's that good. So that would be the wonderful gift for me if you were to do that. So
it'd be amazing, but it's like I'm not holding out hope. I've been fighting this battle for 7 years or however long the game's been out. And it's like I keep bringing it up. I never let it go. I'm like, soul sacrifice, though, man. Oh,
never let it go, man.
And I never will. I'll never let it go. Soul sacrifice is that good.
Well, you got a big win with me, so I'm very happy you kept it up.
Okay, guys, that's going to be it for today's episode. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed it. We'll see you guys in the next one. As per usual, all things Gaijin in the description. Stay strong, stay safe,
and safe instead of sacrifice.